What's going on, everyone? Welcome to 2021. Happy New Year. It's great to be back with the first Bitcast of the year and joined by some awesome first-time guests as well, which I'm really excited about. But first, of course, I have to shout out, it's a new year. It's still the same old Dan. What's up?
Old Dan. I am here and ready to go. Let's do this. I'm excited.
You got the Cubs shirt today. You're going sports on us, huh?
Yeah, you know what? I was like, it was the next in line. I mean, that's how my wardrobe works. I mean, I've explained it to people. It's like whatever's next on the hanger in my closet, that's what gets put on that morning. There's days where it might be like Cubs, then a game shirt, and then I do laundry, and then the Cubs are back in the front. So, you know, same pajama pants, though. I like
way too much Cubs, man.
Yeah.
Way too much Cubs.
There can never be too much Cubs. Jeez.
That's the dream, though, man. You gotta just whatever's next in line.
That's it. I don't need to like get dressed up for anything. What the hell am I doing?
That's very true. That is the dream. You're right. When you get to the point in life where it's just like whatever's next works.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's perfect. In our bottom left on the screen here, coming to us from across the pond, is the indie gamer himself, a big supporter of the show. We obviously support everything he does. You know him. I'm sure our audience knows and follows him well as well. So thanks for coming on, man. Great to have you here.
Honestly, bro, absolute honor to come on. Like you say, I've supported your show, like Season Gaming in general. All of you guys rock big time. Got a ton of respect for what you do, keeping it real. Absolute honor, as I say, to be on chatting some games with you. I had the pleasure of being on Archimedes' show, and that was such a blast talking about the year that we had last year. So yeah, that was a ton of fun. And thank you so much for extending the invite to come on your own show. It means a lot. And yeah, I'm looking forward to doing this with you guys, especially with like Lord Sovereign as well on the guest. Dan, it's always a pleasure chatting games with you. Loving the pathless love recently, and yeah, Ains, obviously you're the man. So thanks again for the invite, bro.
Appreciate that. I think at this point, you know, we have to have someone with an English accent on every episode. So, I'm gonna have to schedule that in advance and figure out how we do that. Because my family's English, but I can't even fake the accent. I sound terrible. So.
I like it. I think you should make an effort, maybe give it a pop.
I'm good. We're gonna move on. And joining us, I sadly am not going to give him the intro that the Iron Lords are famous for, but the elusive man himself, Mass Effect 1 champion, which obviously puts him right top tier anyway as part of this.
I'm going to send Cog a quick DM.
Leave Cog alone.
Cog's busy, man. Cog's busy. But Stav, man, finally great to have you on. Absolute pleasure getting to meet you. Oh God, it's been a year and a half, hasn't it, since E3 2019?
Yeah, it's scary to think about, but yeah,
amazing. Yeah, shame we've already talked about what we hoped to do last year and didn't get to do, but sometime again soon. But anyway, Stav, great to have you on, man. Thanks for coming.
Thanks so much for having me on, guys. From the beginning, like when I heard about like you and what you guys are doing with Season Gaming, it spoke to me, right? I'm always calling myself an old bastard. I'm like,
you're in company here, man.
We need a space for us, man. There's people to listen to us and hear us out. So, it was a pleasure to meet you guys. I know I haven't met Dan in person yet, but you and Bert, and I finally able to be here. The Yeti has arrived. The Sasquatch has arrived. So, an absolute pleasure. Thank you for the invite.
Of course, we joked a few weeks ago about, as Dan and I get even older than we already are, what we can switch to from Season Gaming. And I think Old Bastard Gaming may be a contender.
Old Bastard Gaming works, man.
Brilliant.
Oh, man. Hassan's already kicking us off, man. Let's kick off this year with a banger. Anthem 2.0, baby. Our first super chat on the first Bitcast of 2021. And Anthem is already at the front of the pack.
I think I tweeted that out yesterday. I mean, we're it's the most comprehensive anthem chat in the industry.
Which
ain't saying much.
It is what it is. Thanks, Hassan. Good to see you guys. Good to see all the regulars in chat. Thank you for stopping by. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into some things because you guys are both here for the first time. What we like to do is have a real brief conversation, just a little background from you, what got you into gaming, the things you really enjoy and some of your favorite IPs and platforms. So I'll start bottom left. Indy, I'll start with you, man. So going back, what got you into gaming and how long you've been doing it?
Well, the first platform I gamed on was the Commodore 64 Retro Baby.
Gotcha.
So quite a way back there.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was I think I was around. I was very young at that point. Yeah, and it was. Those long loading screens, everything like that, the crazy colors that came, I mean? I don't know how they got away with epilepsy warnings back then, like with those kind of weird colors that flashed up on the loading screens and that. But yeah, no, that was where I first went into gaming. Then I moved on from there into sort of like Amiga. I was sort of on those sort of like what you sort of would call like the computers,
sure,
technically, but they were gaming platforms as well. But that was my way of encouraging my parents to get me one. I'll do my homework on it or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, but really I'm gaming on it. You know what I mean? And so I was always kind of like on that sort of side of thing, like Atari ST I had and Amiga 600, I think it was. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to hear the whole of it, but I started off there. I went Mega Drive. I was quite a big Sega sort of fan with the.
Yeah, you're in good company.
Good company with like you guys and like NLG and all that. They're big Sega guys as well. But yeah, no. I was a big fan actually of the Saturn, which is quite one that went sort of on the west side.
You got Sav happy over here. Nice. You're nailing it.
I loved all those arcade games back then. I was a big fighting game fan, and like the Daytona and that kind of stuff was straight out of the arcade. Obviously a bad version of it, but it was that was what I was digging at the time. Although arcades weren't quite as big over in the UK as they are in America. That kind of stuff. I actually had my best friend was actually from Hong Kong in school, and he would often go over, and he would always go to a place called the Trocadero in London. Don't know if you've ever heard of that, but that's a big arcade. It's now closed down, unfortunately. But yeah, he was big in touch with that scene, and so yeah, I was influenced by his sort of thing. He liked Dragon Ball Z even back then. He bought me a pencil case of Dragon Ball Z from Hong Kong when he came back. But yeah, I was drifting off big time. But yeah, I just enjoy those kind of like retro games. But to be honest with you, these days, a lot of people still get into the retro stuff. I have to admit, I don't play so much. I've still got my Dreamcast. I've still got an Amiga in the house. Nice. But I don't tend to go back to them and play very much. It's more of a sort of like a memento of a good time.
Nostalgia thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's so many games to be keeping on top of, especially in the indie scene. There's so many which do a good job of a lot of them do a good job of sort of paying tribute to those games anyway. So if you are a retro fan, you can get a taste of that with a new twist in the indie scene. So there's always that if you do want to there's a lot of like Mega Man sort of tributes and stuff like that kind of thing nowadays. But yeah, it's that would be like the platform where I started Commodore 64, and then it went on from there. Yeah, and sorry, what was the other things?
You're fine, man. You're fine.
That's okay. I've rambled enough, I think.
I haven't heard the word Amiga in a while, so that's cool.
Amiga was a big one actually for me. I remember Cannon Fodder on that, and like Lemmings on that, definitely. Those were big games for me. Like because I actually with the Commodore 64, I was so young. I have even hard memories, sort of like hard time remembering some of the games I played on it, but with Amiga it's more there in my memory. But I do have a cool photograph of myself playing on the Commodore 64 when I was a wee boy. But yeah, there was some cool games on there too. But like I say, like Cannon Fodder and those kind of games. There's Sensible Soccer and stuff. I don't know if you guys enjoy like that kind of. I don't know if you had that in America even, because it's obviously soccer. But it was called Sensible Soccer. We call it football, but yeah, Sensible Soccer was cool. But yeah, that was a good time. It was a good time. It got me into it anyway.
Nice. So if you had to pick a favorite platform of all time.
Ooh, yeah, that was one where that's quite a tricky one. I think a lot of people probably go back and say. Like, I mean, I could say I like the Dreamcast or the Saturn, but if you're thinking just in general any platform of all time, I would probably have to these days say something more recent, which is probably disappointing some of the retro fans. But I would probably just have to say something like PC if I wanted to.
Sure.
I've recently got into PC this year. Bought the PC at the start of the year. Sorry, not this year. Sorry, last year. Could get it's 2020 still. But last year, I mean, obviously Xbox has been massive for me, and I've got straight in on the original Xbox, and I went to 360, and then I went Xbox One, and then obviously all the iterations, etc. And Xbox is massive, but now I sort of see Xbox and PC as a sort of one platform in a way.
Sure.
But PC is all encompassing, and that is why I would say if I had to sort of get rid of all my platforms, I would just keep the PC because,
Sure.
there's so many great indies on it, and it covers, all of the games essentially, apart from those PlayStation exclusives, basically, but they're starting to come over as well now too. So, yeah, I mean, people might be sad to hear me say PC, but it'd be Xbox and PC, I would say, if I'm allowed to say it like that.
Yeah, of course. There's no hard rules here.
You're banned.
And then, of course, the hard one for some anyway is, what's your favorite game of all time?
Yeah, that's definitely tricky. I mean, you probably heard me say this recently. I probably will stick with this at the moment. It's going to be again a more recent game, and it's going to be Hollow Knight because I know you could go retro
Great
again,
game.
but I love it to bits. It's one of those games that just when I was playing it, I just couldn't put it down. I just played, the whole weekend straight, all through the day. I don't usually game that much in the day. I'm more of an evening gamer or stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then I go really late, naughtily, if you know what I mean. But then on Hollow Knight, I just had to carry on through the day, through the night. One time I put in like about a 9-hour stretch or something. It's a big old game. There's so much you can do within it. But the game design is just masterful. Some people find it a bit harsh at first to sort of they feel a bit lost at first because it doesn't hold your hand in any way. But, you start getting a feel for it, the design, unlocking the areas. And it's incredibly well designed. I love the Metroidvania games. Yeah. Anyway, that's probably one of my favorite, I would say, if not my favorite genre of game. I just feel like they're really rewarding, like Ori games. That's up there as well as one of my favorites. But yeah, Hollow Knight, it's just something about it. It just won my heart big time. And I cannot wait for Silksong, which is on the way. Yep. But yeah, if you haven't tried Hollow Knight, I think I say this on every podcast I go on. So definitely, guys, check it out. And don't be scared if you're feeling a bit like, I'm not sure if this is for me within the first hour or two. Just keep at it because it will win you over and you will feel like more and more confident with it. If you have to look up a few little tips on the early on, feel free to, because it doesn't tell you much early on, but feel free, feel free to look it up, but also, find the map maker, uncover the areas, and then you'll start to discover its absolute charm that it has. But yeah, that's essentially my Hollow Knight shout out of this podcast, like I do on every single one.
That's a great game. We've got a good Dan and I got a buddy that adores it like you, and he got me into it, and I put some time into it. It's really, really good. Yep.
Fantastic. That's great stuff.
Well, cool. Saab, let's go over to you, man. So, you're an old bastard like the rest of us here. Mm-hmm. So, I know we've joked before about Sega and growing up in the arcade scene and, a lot of different things here. But what got you into it at the start?
I mean, for me at the start, it had to be just the smaller little handheld stuff, like the Game & Watch stuff.
Oh, okay.
Just because that's, your parents would buy you something like that as opposed to buying you like a big home console. But I actually did have access to like a home Pong machine, like at my grandparents' house, they had that, and television. So when I'd go over there, I'd play that. But again, it was as for a small kid, it was kind of obtuse, like the television, like pulling out the telephone cord thing and then putting the overlays on the TV and stuff like that. So I had access to all of that, and that sort of kind of piqued my interest somewhat. And then just constantly playing the smaller games like the Game & Watch. I remember a game that my dad got me called Alien Attack, I believe it was. It's funny because I was looking for it on eBay maybe like 6 months ago, and if you find that handheld in mint condition, it's like upwards of $500.
Wow.
So just those type of things. And then finally we got an Atari 2600 in the house, and that you know, for a young kid, myself and my brother, actually all of us, my sister as well, it was just like this wow moment. Like, what the heck? We have these games that, you know, you'd play them every now and again in the arcade. If you went out with your parents, they'd give you a couple of quarters and you play them. But that was the extent of it. So then to have it in the house, no matter, you know, obviously Pac-Man wasn't the greatest, and the version of Donkey Kong and whatnot wasn't the greatest as well.
Yeah.
But just to have it in the house was for us huge, because as kids, my parents were very protective of us. We weren't the type of kids that they allowed. You know, I've talked a lot about where I grew up, and it, you know, is not the greatest. And my parents were very good about, you know, you go out when we go out. You're not hanging out in front of the building. You're not hanging out. You're not doing any of that stuff. So we spent a lot of time indoors when we weren't going out as a family. So hey, video games. And that's what we gravitated to. So my love for it sort of really came from that. The fact that it was our one big sort of pastime that we did together, as not necessarily as a family, but the kids. We that was our thing. And yeah, so Atari was my first kind of exposure to that. And then after that, Sega, basically it was the Master System. So
yeah, boy.
And the Master sort of happened by default, right? At that point, I was in school. Cog and I were friends, and the Master System was something that he had, but he also had access to Nintendo as well. But the Master System was one that, you know, that everybody talked about. So again, in my mind, I'm like, that's the one I want. But when that you know, whatever year I got it for Christmas, my dad's like, okay, we're gonna go to the store. You're gonna pick out what you want. And they had the Nintendo Entertainment set with the light gun. It wasn't the one with Rob in it.
Yeah, the action set.
The action set.
Yeah.
Oh, and they had the Sega Master System, and it was at Sears that we went to. R.I.P. Sears. And but there was a deal for a free copy of Double Dragon on the Master System.
The better version.
The better version, the one that was a 2-player, that was arcade, quote unquote, perfect, and it wasn't out yet on the console. It wasn't out yet, so and I would be receiving it before it actually came to market. So I was like, oh, no brainer, hey, Sega it is. And I remember when that game came in the mail, I slept with the box for like a week, and then I slept with the box for a week, and then I went to school and I told Cog what I had. He's like, I don't believe you, whatever. I'm like, trust me, I had the game. I'm gonna bring you the box. So I bring the box over, and then Cog, there were a lot of rules in my house when it came to playing video games, right? So it's like video game Friday, Saturday, some of Sunday, Friday when you get home, but at some point you gotta do your homework in that time frame, but no video games during the week. Cog didn't have those restrictions. So he's like, hey, can I borrow Double Dragon during the week? And I'm like, son of a, I don't know. Fine. So he comes over. He's like, hey, Mrs. Andrew, I'm gonna borrow Brian's game. And I was just like, okay, reluctantly giving it to him because I know he's gonna like run through it a million times before I even get to play it once.
Yeah.
Love Double Dragon. I loved it. You reminded me. Good
classic.
show.
Yeah.
And it's not a great game. You really look at it in retrospect, it's lacking in some areas, but
yeah,
the nostalgia
at the time though.
Yeah, to have it, and that again, that sort of really kicked off my Sega love. And so when you mentioned the Saturn, Andy, I think I'm gonna go ahead a little bit and say that my favorite platform of all time is the Sega Saturn.
Okay,
really
nice,
awesome.
I thought I'd be disappointing you by not saying that. I could have said that. It was close. If I was going retro.
The Saturn for me, like I loved my PS1. I loved my N64. You know, all of them out around that same time. But the Saturn to me, I've never been the type that really just that does it, that goes for the easy W in terms of like, the one that everybody else likes.
Sure. That's so me as well. I'm always like going for the underdog.
System's a perfect example.
Exactly. Master's perfect example.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, you know, like I said, I love my PlayStation, but I gravitated to that Saturn. I was still big into 2D fighting games, and the Saturn was a place to be for that. And I was also huge into importing stuff. So there were so many gems from the Japanese side of things on the Saturn that I had access to because I was just that was kind of our thing. Like myself, King, Cog, we were always going downtown into Chinatown, and they had a bunch of stores that we would frequent that had all the newest import games.
That's awesome.
And that was our thing. Like, so we would just as easily buy. I would say that my library was probably maybe even 60-40 import versus domestic games. So it was a lot of stuff. So I just love that console. I love the fact that it was an underdog. And I played so much on that. That's awesome. That, after that, it was everything. It was everything. After that, again, you have your preferences, you have your favorites, but I always felt like, look, I'm not gonna miss out on something that I think is gonna be cool just because it's on a platform that maybe I don't play a bunch of other stuff on. Yeah. So I became kind of super platform agnostic, and just anything that kind of sort of sparked my fancy, I was gonna make sure I had the platform to play it.
Nice. It's the best way to be. We all know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Yeah, Guardian Heroes. Oh, Guardian
there you go,
Heroes.
Man. You calling out Guardian Heroes. You still have your Saturn? Any game?
I do not have it anymore because when you're young,
sad days.
Yeah, when you're young and you're poor, and then you don't think about this stuff.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
And you're like,
they're quite
right,
expensive as well. I think the value is quite high on the Saturn, isn't it? Or this Dreamcast are a bit lower, I think, to pick up now.
I think Dreamcast you can find more of. Saturn is a little bit tougher.
Saturn's like good ones in the box, and remember they had different models, right? Depending on what you want, they're creeping up.
They're definitely creeping up.
The US is it the Japanese one or the US one that's the grey one, the not black?
That's
grey and purple.
Japanese one.
That's Japanese one.
Japanese, yeah.
Japanese one. That unfortunately I got rid of it. But there's a store here in New York City called Video Games New York. That they specialize in retro stuff, and they also sort of do modifications. Nice. So I believe they have one. It probably costs upwards of $300, but they have one with a modded HDMI, so you can actually use it on modern sets. So there's definitely ways to get back to it. There is a retro machine that's coming out. I was gonna buy it. I forgot what it's called. It's the one that comes with different modules that you attach.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And the base module actually is for CD-based games. So I guess you could play PS1, Sega Saturn, a bunch of stuff on just the base console. And I think it's $400.
Oh, the analog something, isn't it?
Yes. No, the analog is different. The analog is the ones that's like a bespoke versions of.
That's right. That's right. I know the one you're talking about though, because that vendor was set up at E3 in 2019 on the side. Yeah, with the things. So I have so many great memories of that console. But after that, I just everything. You as you talked about joking about having to sell things off when we were younger. You reminded me that I sold my entire Neo Geo collection for some wheels for my car.
Like, wow. I thought you were going to just say for some wheels for a car.
Yeah, for my car. That was it. Cars and girls were the priority at that moment in my life.
I hear you, man. And that's painful. Like, $200 cartridges. And
I looked them up recently and I shed a tear, man. What? I won't get into it. It's bad. We're talking like tens of thousands. Yeah, it's bad.
I remember like Cog and I used to be a store. There used to be a store called Nobody Beats the Wiz. And and that was an electronics store that Cog and I would go into in the afternoons because they had a Neo Geo set up and you could play the demos. And we just go in there, we'd play Baseball Stars, we'd play Magician Lord until they got kicked us out. And then eventually when we met
with the Wiz, like from Seinfeld?
The Wiz. Yep.
Nobody beats the Wiz.
Like, I'm the Wiz.
Yeah.
That was real?
The actual store was called Nobody Beats the Wiz. It was out around the time like Crazy Eddie and stuff like that. Like it was that was the electronics
episode. They made a whole Seinfeld episode about
where the guy's like, nobody beats the Wiz. Yeah.
That is a real thing. That was the before Best Buy, before you had Targets and stuff like that. That was it. The Wiz.
Oh man,
the Wiz. It's something else, man. Just to see all those things gone, it's sad, but they definitely are of a time and place, though.
Yeah, that's true.
So I realize we've turned this into a retro podcast at this point.
That's what happens when you have a bunch of old bastards on here.
Which I love, by the way. I'm not complaining. The only thing we didn't hear, Sav, is what's your favorite game all time? Do you have one? Like one?
Yeah, I mean, it changes over the years, right?
Sure.
Because you see, you experience different things, and I think the one that for me has stayed since about, I would say, 2012 is the original Red Dead.
Yes. All right.
That it's funny because I didn't play it when it came out in 2010.
Okay.
And it came out and I said, oh, I guess this is one Rockstar game I'm not playing because I did this cowboy stuff is just not for me. I just didn't care for it. Let it languish there for 2 years, but you just keep hearing all these great things about it. I'm like, all right, let me sit down and play this. So I started playing it 2012, late 2012. And it was a time in my life where I'm old enough that I don't necessarily need, all of my video games to be like super bombastic and a lot of shooting, explode. I like quiet moments in video games. And at that point I decided, you know what, I'm going to give this game 100%. I'm not going to go into it with any sort of preconceived notions of why I might dislike it. I'm just going to give it a chance. And I just got lost in that world. I got lost in that world in a way that I did not expect. And it was in, like I said, that time of my life, I was getting married. I was switching jobs. So there was so many things that were changing in my life that for me, within a game, I needed a game that could give me peace and quiet sometimes. And obviously Red Dead has plenty of action, but that was the first game where I felt that you could sort of exist in that world and you create moments that in other games you just don't find. Like when I've said this a million times, but you're riding your horse in the desert and, you see the sun setting on the horizon and you hear, you have your headsets on. I played with the lights off, headsets on, and you're there. It brings you there. And it's such a quiet and peaceful and reflective moment that I'm like, wow, I've never felt this in any game before ever. and it just, I was enamored from that point on. And obviously nice. Red Dead 2 sort of stepped that up to another level for me.
Okay, good. We're safe. I was gonna.
You're about to confront him on that.
I've spoken to quite a few people. Like Dan and I both adore Red Dead 2. Like it's way up there for both of us. Same with Red Dead 1, like you said. But I have spoken to quite a few people who loved Red Dead 1, but just couldn't get into Red Dead 2. And I don't really understand it. I don't know if they gave it enough time. I don't know, but
I think for me, the differences that I find, which I liked, but I can see other people not liking, is Red Dead 1 feels more like more of a game. It feels more gamified.
Yeah,
whereas 2 is very much an experience you live in, right? And Correct. It's not, I've had plenty of arguments with Addict about the shooting and whatnot. It's like, it's not supposed to be great shooting. It's supposed to feel heavy. It's supposed to, their arguments to say, oh, well, they got the combat wrong. It's like they spent a decade on this game. Do you think they got the combat wrong, or they wanted it to be that way? For better or for worse, whether you like it or not, that's how they wanted it.
It would feel weird if it was all of a sudden Titanfall in the shooting department.
Exactly. Yeah. I think the way you phrased that was right, and now I forget exactly what you just said. Damn it.
I always argue with Addict about it, and I'd say, "Oh yeah, he doesn't like it because it doesn't play like Destiny." And I'm like, "Well, it's not supposed to play like Destiny." but I get that about it, and it is if you're a person who gets sort of easily bored with things, and you come to games constantly wanting action, this is not the game for you, because
I've said the same.
Yeah, you're gonna find it boring. But I like the minutia. I like the fact. I love that stuff. So yeah, I think what the things that I loved about Red Dead 1 blown out in Red Dead 2 to an extent that I never necessarily thought possible, because when I thought we weren't getting a Red Dead 2, I was very much happy to have The Witcher 3 as my surrogate Red Dead 2. I'm like, okay, this is what I would want from a sequel to Red Dead, is basically what I'm getting from The Witcher.
Yeah.
But they did so much more, because again, The Witcher is a fantastic world that feels lived in, but you don't necessarily interact with it the same way that you would Red Dead, right? Sure. Red Dead, it does feel like you're Arthur Morgan and you're running around doing whatever you feel like doing until you decide that you want to take the story path. And other than that, you can do whatever you want. So yeah, man, it's got to be Red Dead 1 because again, Red Dead 2 takes it to another level, but it is standing on the shoulders of greatness.
So just to be clear, you came on, you're a Sega guy.
Yeah.
You've now promoted Red Dead 2, and Witcher 3. So we're just hitting all the right notes.
I was going to say, can I have another couple?
As long as you like Halo, you may become a permanent guest.
Yeah, no. I love Halo as well, man. My OG Xbox story. I love the Xbox platform. I myself, along with Cog and King, and my brother Kaibatsu, when Xbox came out, when they announced it, we weren't pessimistic about it. We were excited. We were like, oh my God, this big company is going to come in and try to make a stand against these monsters, against Nintendo and Sony. Like, we weren't pessimistic about it. We was like, okay, let's see what they bring. And the fact that they approached it from a perspective, okay, we're going to try to give it the most powerful console possible. We're going to make changes to what you're used to in the console space with the hard drive and giving you the Ethernet port right out of the bat. They were being, they were coming in and trying to make a splash. Yeah. And when I got that console home and all those things sort of came to fruition, I'm like, they're not playing around. I remember day one, I brought it home and I played the games in order of, least excitement to most excitement. So I started with Project Gotham. I threw on PGR, and I'm a Metropolis Street Racer fanatic from the Dreamcast.
You're still nailing it. You're still crushing it.
MSR, I loved MSR. So to see that sort of progression, I threw that on. And I went in.
Classic, by the way.
Yeah, man, I love that game. That game is so good. And so I threw on PGR, and immediately I ripped soundtracks to the hard drive, and I'm vibing to my own tracks, playing PGR. I must have played that for 3 hours. I was like, okay, they nailed it. This is great. Then I went to Dead or Alive 3, and that was like the graphical showpiece. I'm like, I cannot believe we love Dead or Alive. We played the original on the Saturn to death, Dead or Alive 2 on Dreamcast when it first came out. So to see 3 and still have it be this monumental graphical leap on the Xbox was just mind blowing. So I played that for a few hours, and I saved the end for Halo. I threw on Halo. I played through the intro. And again, I tried to play first-person shooters on console up to that point. I played Time Splitters. I love Time Splitters. But nice. The controls on the PlayStation were, I didn't know about going into the options and, dialing down sort of sensitivity and stuff like that. So I was all over the place shooting. And what Halo did for console shooters is that it sort of normalized a certain speed for that. And I played through that intro and I immediately called Cog. I'm like, have you played Halo yet? He's like, no, I haven't gotten to it yet. Stop what you're doing.
The revolution.
Go play Halo. Go play Halo right now. Yeah. Go play Halo right now. And that was the love affair with Xbox from then on. And
I see people nowadays, and we're all over the place today, but I love it. This is like
sorry for the long.
No. I'm in my element. Hearing you guys talk about all these things, I'm in my element. I love it. So, but one last thing on that is, we're at the point now where Halo's coming up on 20 years old, where you're seeing younger gamers kind of not have experienced Halo when it came onto the scene, and so they don't understand the impact that it had and what it did, and the significance of it. Let me get to some of these chats. We got a whole bunch here. Good
ones. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. You're fine, man. So, Mike, what's up, man? He said, The Wiz, we had that here in Maryland. Don't feel bad, Ains. I sold my Neo Geo stuff, too, for stupid reasons. It's horrible. Horrible feeling. Where am I at? Hassan said, Sabi just installed Red Dead 1 this morning, and Hassan is a massive Red Dead 2 fan, but he's never played Red Dead 1.
Wow.
So he's going back to that now. Archimedes in the house. What's up, brother? You said Red Dead 1, one of the very, very rare games. I consider a 10 out of 10. I would say absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think Red Dead 2 topped it for the reasons kind of Sav and we've touched about before. But of course, when you look at when Red Dead came out, the original, it was unbelievable. Although he then follows this up. He says it's a downgrade. So we'll just put that to the side right now.
What's a downgrade?
Red Dead 2 is a downgrade.
Is it downgrade?
To Red Dead 1.
That goes to some people want it to be gamier, and it's not as gamey.
That's what moved to Hassan's comment, which is accurate. It's an 11 out of 10. I see Cog in the house. What's up? Driver making sure Salvinanes behave. ME2 slanders at a minimum.
We haven't done it yet. We haven't slandered the game just yet.
No, we're getting there. We're getting there. Don't worry about it. And like Elu said, no slander. Just because ME1's the best doesn't mean ME2's bad.
Yeah, this is the thing. Why are you making us do this? They're both games that I love and adore. Why do I have to,
So we haven't asked Indy. Indy, are you a Mass Effect fan?
No, when I saw this debate unfolding on Twitter, I was a bit disappointed.
Just say yes, and part one's the best.
Yeah,
that's it.
I wasn't
If you want to be invited back, you would just
say I was more like, I wanted more action from my games back then. I think I've evolved since that sort of time. Like, it's obviously the pacing is quite slow and stuff, isn't it? And in depth and stuff like that. And I was wanting more like, thrills and action, I suppose, at that time. But yeah, maybe if they do, are they definitely doing this remake, this remaster?
Legendary Edition. Yeah.
So that might be an opportunity.
But they haven't. True. Yeah, that's probably going to be the best way to first enter it. But they haven't detailed what they mean by remake, right? So we don't know what's actually coming.
Yes, true.
So it's going to be interesting to see.
We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Leonardus, Indy is blocked. Thank you very much, Leo. That's very kind.
Yeah, I see Leo. I'm not. The comments talking about ME2 we can leave aside. We don't need to put those up. Oh man. Oh crap. Hold on. How do I get this? I actually lost the comment that is on the screen, so now I don't know how to get it out of here.
Great.
There it is. We got it. All right. So now, why don't we go ahead and talk about some of the games that are coming, which was, what we were getting to. So real quick, two things I want to shout out to the chat. Thank you guys for stopping by. Two things real quick. So we are having a giveaway today, one $20 Xbox card, one $20 PlayStation card. All you have to do in the chat is just type in that you want to enter and what platform you want to enter for. So just type that out. We'll keep an eye on it in the next 20, 30 minutes or so. Dan will pick out a winner and we'll announce it, and we'll do both of those before the end of the show.
So do you have one for each, or
one for each?
Okay.
Yeah, one for each. And then also, if you could just do us a favor, like I always say, I don't usually shout this out, but please give us hit that like button. It just helps us out while you're here. Really appreciate it. All right, let's get into it. So, game outlook for 2021, and I know this is kind of all over the place. It was a pretty quiet news week, so we're really just going to talk about some of the games that are coming in early 2021. And first, the big thing this week was Outriders. So Outriders was originally coming out February 2nd, which would have been only a few weeks from now. It's now pushed back to April 1st, and as they said, no, that's not a joke. It's actually releasing on April 1st, and the demo will be coming on February 25th. And the demo progress will carry over to the full game, which is cool. You don't see that often nowadays. That used to be a thing, but that's pretty cool. So just want to get your guys' thoughts on this, if it interests you, and also the thoughts around one of the interesting things I find about this game is they keep saying that this is not a game as a service. It's a contained experience. So it's a co-op or single player game, looter shooter, pretty much, in the vein of other things we've seen, combination of Destiny / Division, etc. But I'm kind of curious how they're going to have a long-running end game and loot system without it being a game as a service, unless they mean it's just going to have like set expansions that come at
right.
Period of time.
More like Borderlands then. Is probably
that's probably
what they're shooting at.
Yeah, that's probably a good comparison. So I know a bunch of people I talk to are excited for this. I'm excited for it. Delay doesn't bother me at all. We've talked about that a million times. But anyone who wants to shout out on this, any comments or thoughts on Outriders?
Is the NDA still a thing? Didn't they do a demo for the Insider program for this game?
They did. They did. I could never connect.
I'm going to use the NDA of me not knowing much about this game, and that's the reason I can't speak about it.
I don't know how much you can say. Yeah, because I can never get on there. You get to the character creator, and
it just crashes.
Yeah, and then I landed on this planet, and I was there, and then it just stopped. So I have no idea what to expect. I'm assuming that's part of this delay that they pushed it back to. It looks really cool. And if they do it like a Borderlands kind of co-op looter shooter,
yeah,
awesome. But that still needs, if you're going to charge $60 for a game, that still needs to be supported, with DLC, even if you have to pay for it, like the Borderlands model. I'm fine with that. Then you kind of have to worry about like, what's the size? Like how big is this game? Is it
how big is the world? What's the content offering?
Yeah. So if it can be contained, they can 100% do it. And Borderlands proves that. I just don't know enough right now. I know a lot about the characters or like the different stuff you can play. I've seen all that stuff, but I don't know anything else as far as story and basically the rest of the game. They've basically shown what kind of different characters you can play as and what kind of
there's 4 classes.
That's what I was
and we have some of those details are on the site, so you can find all that stuff. But I mean, I know Leo, who's in the chat, and a few others. I know Bombers, really looking forward to it. A couple of those guys played it, said it plays really smooth, feels really good. And I think one of the things I'm confident in is people can make a good shooter. Mm-hmm. They know how to make one that feels good. And so I'm pretty confident in that. My question whenever they talk about looter shooters, my question always comes down to content. What's the loot system like? What's the skill system like? And what's your end game look like? Because it's pretty rare for these games to nail those things out of the gate.
Yeah. I as you guys know, I'm not big necessarily on the looter shooter, because when I hear looter shooter, I immediately think about the Destiny.
You get enough Destiny chat as it is, I'm sure.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to be really into this with COG and everything.
I am the one. I'm the exception.
Okay, I see.
Into that stuff at all, because it's just, for me, I don't like the particular carrot on a stick that they have for you, like the whole grinding for weapons, and then 2 weeks later that weapon is useless and stuff like and I'm exaggerating, right? But that's kind of the loop that I can't turn myself over to. Like, I know 100% that's a lot of it is me. Like, if I turn myself over to that, that's it, I'm done. So I know I just have to stay away from it and just hate it because of that. But with Outriders, if they are going for that sort of closed system where it is more like a Borderlands type of thing, and it's closed, absolutely, it's something for me with my first person shooters or third person shooters. I just want to see that the world is sort of truly explored. One of the criticisms I have of Destiny is that Destiny feels like a bunch of combat scenarios.
That's exactly just kind of what it is.
Linked together, and the world doesn't feel lived in which is weird for a world that supposedly has so much background lore. Yes. And I'm just like, it doesn't do it for me. Whereas like a game like when I play a Wolfenstein, I feel like that world is lived in. I feel like things have happened in that world, and I'm seeing the consequences of that in the environment, in the people that live in that world. Whereas these don't necessarily do that, because the focus is on the multiplayer aspect and the looting aspect of it. So if they can find that balance, and like Ain said, People Can Fly can make a game. Like they made, what was the game?
Bulletstorm.
Bulletstorm.
And they also made Gears of War Judgment. People forget.
Exactly. And Judgment wasn't necessarily the best received, but it was fine.
It was a good game.
I thought Judgment was fine. So I'm interested to see if they can sort of change up that formula. And that's the thing. If you're coming into this space, the formula has to be different enough from everything that's out there now to be successful. We've seen, obviously they're not the same thing, but Anthem, Destiny, they're all going to be seen under that same microscope, even if they're not exactly the same thing. So if they fail at some of the things that you mentioned, it's going to be an uphill battle for a game like this.
Yeah, and I think Archimedes points out, it's not really a looter shooter; it's more of an RPG. Think more Mass Effect. Yeah. So maybe I'm and Leo said the same. I know Leo's actually played it. He said, Outriders. I know he meant wasn't really a looter shooter. So maybe I've got my wording messed up there. I know that there are co-op, obviously co-op, but I know there's RPG elements and kind of conversational choices and stuff too.
Okay, so
that's good to hear. To your point, it really kind of it seems like a crossover of multiple things. Mm-hmm. So as long as a lot of games attempt that, but they can come off feeling like jack of all trades, master of none. You know what I mean? So if they can make those aspects deep enough and intriguing enough, then I think it'll be successful. I like what I've seen.
Absolutely, and the RPG stuff really intrigues me if that's the case. Like,
yeah,
yeah, definitely.
Cool. All right, let's move over to Hitman 3. This is one that I'm not a big Hitman guy, but I know Dan's played the hell out of them. Yeah, he's
literally
excited
on my screen right now on my TV.
Nice. So Dan's going to actually be doing the review for us as well. Comes out January 20th, so that's probably the first kind of major release of the year we're going to see here, because that's only a week and a half away. I don't know if you guys saw this week, but the locations in the game leaked. So there's 6 of them, and they are Dubai, Dartmoor, England, Berlin, Germany, Chongqing, I hope I'm saying that right, Chongqing, China, Mendoza, Argentina, and the Carpathian Mountains in Romania. So some really diverse and interesting settings here, which depending on how the mission design is, we kind of know the Hitman formula, but could be really, really impressive. And as we know, they're one of the companies IO that has really taken advantage of the more advanced hardware as it's come out too. So I have to imagine that this is going to be a beautiful game.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this. I love Hitman.
Oh, good.
I love Hitman and I love Hitman from way back, man. And when the first time I installed Agent 47 on my computer, I was like, what the hell is this? Like, it's not, you don't go in guns blazing. You have to sort of plan out and figure things out. And that formula I've just always loved. And to see them come back to it in this way with the new Hitman trilogy, man, it is the epitome of murder sandbox. I adore it. And each one has gotten better, and the fact that with 3 they're enveloping the first 2 into it and adding sort of all the quality of life improvements they've made over the course of the 3 games into the previous, the first one and the second one, I think is absolutely awesome. I really want to see what this is. And when you tell me Carpathian Mountains, and like I could totally see him going into the Carpathian Mountains, like having to try to assassinate Dracula or something like that. Like some stupid thing. Like, I can see that. And it's because I love the fact that the game doesn't take itself so seriously. Yeah. And the scenarios that happen are so hilarious. I'm happy for IO that they got the opportunity to bring this IP back, and they've been able to do what they want to do with it. And now it's in a place where I think it's reaching more people than it ever has. Yeah. I'm very excited for this game.
And they've done so while remaining independent, which is impressive as a developer. And as you know, we won't jump to it yet, but we know 007 is their next thing after this. So which could be, I can't really think of a better company off the top of my head that could make a 007 game. So
it definitely fits their mold, doesn't it? The stealth sort of element with 007, but obviously you're not jumping into it yet. But yeah, I'm a big Bond fan myself, but I look forward to when we do. I mean, it does fit their sort of style of making games, doesn't it? I feel
absolutely, yeah. And I think if they separate it enough from Hitman, it'll be really special. But it feels like they have the foundation they need already, basically. To your point,
yeah, most definitely. Yeah, the Hitman games have always been something. I'm sounding terrible in this podcast so far, but I'm not, because I'm not offering much. But like Hitman games, I haven't jumped into. Sorry, my man, I haven't jumped into, and I've always thought like I don't know. I think I did take have a little taste of Absolution back in the day, when that was a while back. But yeah, I just never really grabbed me that much. But I do absolutely love the way they offer that freedom to really just do the missions how you want to do them completely. That is freedom to express your own way of doing things is really enticing. Like I said, that's why I think they work really well for the Bond games if they've had that stealth credentials. But yeah, no, those locations the locations in the game are always a highlight. I have been keeping an eye on Hitman over the years, and the locations are always interesting, like the glamorous locations where you can move through like parties and stuff like that. Always superb. Obviously you can take out the chef and then become the chef. That it's like Sovereign said, it has a sense of humor to that sort of aspect where you can become like a whatever, take out like a clown and then become a clown or whatever it might be, you know what I mean, and then assassinate like the president with. I'm just making up a scenario here, but it could easily be something that would take place in a Hitman game. And yeah, I would be 100% 100% interested to see how this turns out, and I'll be interested to see Dan's review on it too, definitely. I like stealth games. There haven't been a ton of stealth games recently, massive amount. There are a few on the smaller side, you could consider like Plague Tale a bit of a stealth game, which is a great one. But yeah, there's it's good to see those games being made still, and Hitman is a cool franchise, and I'll be interested to see how this one turns out. And Dartmoor in the UK, that's interesting because that's a national park in the UK. That's quite an interesting choice of location. I wonder how that one turns out.
I think
no doubt. Yeah, I saw that and thought the same thing.
They're doing a Knives Out. If you guys have seen the movie, right? The Knives Out.
Saw the reference, the Easter egg.
I think that's where that's taking place. So there's a whole mission, I guess, where it's like a murder mystery inside of this mission that you're already doing.
I may buy it just for that.
Inception.
You might have just thrown me off the game.
Yeah, I mean, you can, and he's dressed as a detective and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Man,
did you see someone on Twitter posted the comparison, like, because you're outside and you find a baseball, which is a reference to the movie. If you haven't seen Knives Out, by the way, fantastic movie.
Nice.
But yeah, that you might have just sold me on buying the game now.
That's what I'm looking forward to the most. I mean, you can play. It makes you want to try all these different ways to do it. That's the best thing about this game, because it's not like if you look at like Absolution, which is probably one of my favorites. It had a good story, and it was it's kind of a self-contained deal. This new trilogy has an overarching story, but it's not. I don't know. It's just not as engaging. The biggest things, it's more about the how you're doing it as opposed to the why with this new trilogy, which is fine with me too, because there are so many things you can do, so many different ways you can do them. I mean, pretty much anything. Like yesterday I was playing, and I think it was the first Hitman, and they already run it like 4K 60 on gen consoles. So I can't even imagine what they're going to look like, once they make that transfer over. But I was, I think I was dropping something on somebody's head, but then like at the last second, I screwed up, and so I just pulled out my silent pistol and just like popped her in the head and then ran off. So I mean, even if you screw up, there's so many different ways you can kind of redeem yourself later, and some of the situations are just hilarious. I'm really looking forward to that Knives Out like one. So
yeah, it's cool, man. I'm looking forward to your review. Hopefully it's better than a 7. We'll see.
I mean, I have zero doubt it'll be better than
that. Nice. Is he giving a lot of 7s?
He got famous recently for giving Assassin's Creed Valhalla a 7, and we're never letting him put it down.
I mean, if you had played the game, you will understand why Ubisoft continues to make the same game with different skins.
All right, we don't need to get into it. We don't. I didn't mean to pull your cord. We're good.
I have to agree with that, though. They need to reinvent themselves. That's if they're not being unique and innovative, if they're just reinventing.
They create a template, right? Like they change the template up for Origins. They have.
Haynes is going to pull our cord.
Right. Yeah.
I'm good. I agree, honestly, with most of these comments.
No. I love Valhalla. I love Assassin's Creed. I love Assassin's Creed. But, I think when they change the template up, give me max 2 games with that template and then move on again and evolve again. Because it starts to get a little tired. Yeah. I think Valhalla has done the best job at bringing back some old elements of Assassin's Creed that were sort of missing. And while adding, whatever the stuff that they've added in Odyssey and Origins. But yeah, I get it. Yeah, for sure. It is comfort food for sure. If you're a fan of it, it's total comfort food.
They're stepping sideways as opposed to forward. And I want them to go forward because
I think it's diagonal.
Yeah. I mean, they incrementally add like this little tiny thing, but it doesn't really push it.
Yeah, they're the bishops of gaming.
That's what I want. I want them to succeed. Like then I look and see something like Immortals, and I'm like, wow, I know that this publisher can do this kind of stuff. They've got the studios to do it, but people, I think they just get, hopefully that was a trilogy, maybe. I don't know. The next one will be maybe deeper RPG mechanics, maybe, a different look on, what you can do. Because there's a certain limitations. I understand that, but, it's been the same game since Origins. Yeah, and I can say the same thing about Assassin's Creed 2 to Revolutions, Revelations.
Faz still giving you shit, by the way. She says it's a 9.
Well, I mean, I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand. But I'm also not in love with the main characters, so that's just me.
Yeah.
That's
By the way,
bring
Carl,
Vanessa.
who is also in the UK, if you guys don't know, Carl is one of our contributors to Season Gaming. Great comment. 007 will be awesome if it retains slaps only multiplayer mode.
Oh, yes. Definitely.
That's awesome.
So a question on Hitman. Do you like the fact that, Dan, you mentioned the fact that it is about, a lot of those stages are huge. They're all huge. And ideally, the way you would play that is to just go back, 15, 20 times and do it differently every time.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciated when they released it just one stage at a time. I mean, maybe don't wait months in between, but I kind of liked when they pieced it off as opposed to giving me like the full package. I don't know. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think we might get stuff after that. You know what I mean? Like there might be, because they still kept adding stuff to Hitman 2, like over, I think we got like the first bundle, and then we got like a couple extra ones here and there. Like there was a Patient Zero one. I think Elu mentioned this one. There was like all these other ones that you can kind of get into afterwards. So I'm okay, kind of giving us like the main course and then, kind of throwing us a little bit of something afterwards.
Afterwards.
Yeah. Now it's, I don't know, based on whatever they do with the story, that might be harder or easier, depending on what they do. But I'm excited for, like, I want them to get those bigger maps. I like those assassination attempts where you got to do 4 people. There was one in Hitman 1, I think it was one of the last ones, and you have to, there's 4 different people at this complex, and you can do them where you get 2 of them together, maybe 3 of them together, maybe, I don't know if you can do all 4 yet because I haven't done it yet, or you can do them all separately, and you can do it and each one of them has several different ways. So
ways to do it,
yeah. It's so much fun.
Has calling you out, by the way, Dan. What score did you give the new Yakuza?
9. Did I give it a 9?
Yeah, she gave it a 9.
It's awesome.
8. I keep saying it. I'm going to talk about more, but I am enjoying it. This is a good point too. I forgot about this. What's up, brother? I hope they reduce the size of the game as promised. I have all the Hitman 2 missions with first Hitman missions installed, and they're almost 120 gigs. So it's huge. So I don't know what that's going to look like when 3 releases.
Yeah, I have to erase everything on my PlayStation 5 because I bought it there so I can play the VR and give the impression.
Is your 40 gigs already?
Yeah, it's all gone. It's completely. Like, I think I have that, and the 2 Spider-Man games.
I'm
done.
The 2 Spider-Man games? You mean the PS4 version and the PS5 version?
No. I got the remastered.
Oh man, Stubbs in the house. What's up, man? Sorry guys, I'm second playthrough of Inside, a brilliant game.
Oh,
nothing to apologize for. Great game.
Definitely.
All right, let's jump over to another one that releases a week after Hitman is The Medium, which is an exclusive coming to next gen Xboxes, or I guess current gen now, right? Series S, Series X, and PC. Bloober team, and I know I've talked about this because I love horror games of SG. I think I'm the horror game guy. I will be reviewing it. I reviewed Blair Witch as well, and I'm incredibly pumped about this. So we unfortunately weren't one of the outlets that got preview access to this week because I saw some of the big outlets had an early preview. Do you guys get that over at the Lord's Soft?
No, I don't think so. No.
Yeah. So unfortunately, all the previews that I've read, as little information. I'm trying to stay dark on it. I didn't watch all the gameplay and everything, but the kind of highlights that I've read are really, really saying good things. In fact, there's been a lot of comparisons this week to Silent Hill, which you can't really throw a better compliment out there,
right?
Than comparing a psychological kind of horror thriller to Silent Hill. So I'm pumped about this. You guys, either of you interested in horror kind of titles?
I'm not a big horror guy. I tend to much prefer the psychological horror style games, which Bloober do so well. It seems that's sort of their wheelhouse, isn't it? I'm definitely looking forward to The Medium. I did watch the 14 minutes of juicy gameplay.
Oh, you watched it? Yeah, I did. I didn't because I didn't want to ruin anything.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
It looked good?
It did look good. Yeah, I mean, it was. I'm slightly on the fence about it. I mean, I think I don't think they chose the best segment of gameplay. Really, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how the puzzles play out in the game. It's obviously going to be more puzzle focused, and I think hopefully they've come up with some good puzzles in the actual clip. It was the puzzle elements they did show were slightly they were a bit too straightforward. Obviously, they weren't very enticing. It was just kind of to show off the mechanics, which is obviously the biggest draw about the game, which is awesome. Obviously the mechanics that you've split reality and stuff like that, which is the reason it's not on the previous generation Xbox. They say it's because they're essentially running two games at once when they do the split screen. So it's on PC, which is probably where I'll try and check it out. Okay. It does look really cool. The atmosphere is great. I think the story element is good. Obviously, the medium alludes to the fact, you probably worked this out anyway, but the medium, the title alludes to the fact that you play a medium and you have contact between two worlds where you can go between the two. So you can go between your current reality and you can also go into the spirit world as well. So yeah, there's sections where you'll need to so the game's kind of divided into three. They say it's sort of divided into a obviously your normal existence, the spirit world full screen, and there's also a split screen between both of them. And I think they said it's about a third of each divided. I don't know if that's like an actual quantity amount of gameplay time in each, but it's divided into the three. I think it might be roughly about that. But yeah, no, I don't know how much someone said spoiler in the chat. I hope I'm not saying too much. They didn't want to know about. But yeah, I mean, the atmosphere is awesome. Like, I did watch an IGN video on it as well, and they did say if it had an Alan Wake feel to it, which I definitely would agree with. Which that's always good news, isn't it? So, I guess it's all going to come down to the sort of gameplay elements in there, because I don't think there's going to be any like major like combat or anything like that. I think it's going to be mostly puzzle centric. So. As far as I'm aware, anyway, there wasn't any.
Yeah, I think that's why they've compared it more to Silent Hill rather than say Resident Evil, right? Because it's more, exactly. It's more environmental thrills and scares,
which is totally fine by me. Hopefully they can tell a strong story with it. I think. Yeah, it does look really interesting. I'm all about the unique mechanic. It's kind of got almost a bit similar to A Way Out, where it plays the split screen thing, but obviously you're not playing with a co-op partner; you're playing alone. But yeah, it's a nice idea to do that. Does seem like it'll work well. There was one section which looked absolutely beautiful, which is if you did watch, it's the kind of the bit where you do have to solve a puzzle, and then you go through and there's some bats that kind of fly out, and it looks magical. It looks kind of really next gen, if you like, or current gen now. But yeah, it does look really nice. I really do like Bloober Team and what they do. They bring that psychological stuff, which I'm much more, like I said, much more prefer that kind of thing, psychological horror, as opposed to just all out kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre style horror, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Which is kind of like brainless in my opinion, but there we go.
No, that's what I loved about Blair Witch. If you really went through that whole game, man, that is a ride when you get to the end of it, especially the last hour of that game. Yeah, you don't know what's real.
And that's something they do quite often as well, is they don't you don't really know what's happening until later on in the game. So it's kind of like it sort of unfolds, and then you're kind of like, okay, now, and you're sort of like second guessing things, and things have double meanings. They're clever. I like that. About them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out. I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I hope so. Soft hold one. Let me just get these super chats. Mo, greetings from Costco. I couldn't escape the claws of Family Day. Have a great show, you beautiful Chumbas. Thank you, Mo. Always appreciated, mate. I'm sure we'll talk later. And then sadly, I have to put this up because it's a super chat. I don't want to. But Enrique, what's up, man? Good to see Brap in the house. Mass Effect 2, the greatest of all time. It is one of the greatest sequels of all time. I'll give you that.
Yeah, just it's standing on the shoulders of greatness. So obviously, I mean, I understand you basic gamers.
Yeah, I mean, you don't play a story game for the story, right? I mean, whatever. Oh man, Stav, any interest in Medium, man?
Very interested in the medium. Like Indy said, I'm excited for Bloober because I think this game, if it hits, it's really their coming out party.
That's true.
You know, I enjoyed Layers of Fear, love Blair Witch I love the property of Blair Witch, and to have it done, you know, justice and kind of been, and you know, we don't want to talk about Book of Shadows. We don't want to talk about that. But an Observer, Observer is a fantastic game. So they've had this progression, and now to see them doing this type of game, something that's likened to a Silent Hill, I'm super excited to see what they do with it. My only worry is just performance. I want to see how it performs on console, because Blair Witch on console still doesn't run well. It doesn't. Like
most of their games are a little kind of hitchy.
It's very hitchy. So I just want it to run well. My thing is, I want the game to come out and for the game to be sort of judged on the merits of the game and the gameplay, and not be talking about technical stuff. But I'm super excited. Because if this hits, this sort of elevates them, I believe. So
no, I'm with you, and I think it's probably got the most publicity of any game that they've worked on, right, to your point. So if it lands, reviews well, performs well, it could be really good for them, which is great, because they're pretty unique. You know, you try to think of developers who focus on meaningful psychological horror games, and it's like, well, you got Bloober and you're done. I mean, there's not a whole lot. I mean, I know there's some upcoming kind of indie horror titles that are out there that are popular, but the way Bloober develops them, I think, is rather unique. Anyway, so we're calling out the first winner, Jeff Maldy. I haven't seen him I know he's in the chat a little bit ago. So Jeff Maldy, man, congrats on winning a gift card. Dan, you said you're not sure if he wants Xbox or PlayStation.
I don't know what anybody wants. I'm not sure anybody. So whatever he wants.
We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it. Just Jeff, you're still there. Oh, there he is. Okay, so Jeff, let me know, man. DM me, Porsche Power on Twitter. My DMs are open, so just DM me whether you want Xbox or PlayStation. I will get that over to you later today. So thanks, man. Congrats. All right. For anyone who's just tuning in, I see some new faces in the chat. So thank you, first of all, for coming by today. And yes, we're still giving away another $20 gift card. So just put in the chat if you want to enter, and if you do, what platform you want it for. We're going to pick another winner here shortly. So cheers, guys. All right. Next. Oh, God, we got to talk about this, too. I'm getting hit with Mass Effect 2 and now Monster Hunter. Good God. All right. So let's talk about Monster Hunter Rise. So the demo is out now. Came out, yesterday, I believe, officially, right?
Yeah.
Switch exclusive, and probably the big Switch release early in the year here. Comes out March 26th officially. And I know, Dan, you were really pumped about this one. I don't know about the other guys, but Dan, did you get a chance to play it yet?
Yes, I did. Literally, I mean, not
garbage.
No.
Garbage. Come on, moving on.
Appreciate the skill it takes to wield these weapons here in Monster Hunter.
Yes, there's one thing I hate in games. It's challenging games.
Yeah, you can't stand it. It's okay. So here's what happened. It crashed Nintendo's servers, their eShop servers.
Oh, there were 7 people downloading?
Yeah, that's all it took. They're incredible eShop servers. I mean, it was completely slammed for the demo as soon as it came out. So that's going to tell you that this game will probably be one of the top selling Switch games of the year. I played it. Here's the problem that I have is that I can play Monster Hunter World on my PS5 or Xbox, and it is 60 frames and it looks amazing.
It's supposed to be gorgeous, yeah.
Now going to the Switch, it's so difficult for me to kind of downgrade my viewing, and I'm sitting here like, oh my God, this is so hard to play. You know, it's not difficult to play. It's just it looks so much worse. Everything else, like I need a Switch Pro before March because it's so like last year. It's gotten to the point now where now I'm going to play the hell out of it because it was really, really fun. It plays amazing. It plays just like Monster Hunter World to me, except they've added a couple new things with some mounts and some and this grappling hooking thing, which is grappling hook bug, I think what it is. It's cool as hell. But I haven't gotten super deep into it yet, so I still need to keep pushing a little bit in the demo. It's just when I, it's like, well, I can play Hitman for the 18th time, in a nice crisp 60 frames, or I can keep playing this. That's going to be my biggest hurdle, but I'm still going to play it and buy it because I love Monster Hunter. I've got so much time sunk into that game, from even when the early demo came out on the PlayStation. So I'm excited. We'll see how it goes. This is definitely on my radar.
How long's the demo, Dan? Is it big, or what does it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to play like a ton of it yet. So it's, from what it said, it was like you have like 30 missions you can do.
Okay.
That's not a ton in Monster Hunter when you really come down to it. But 30 missions online, then everything else is local. So basically you can go do whatever you want. It's not the whole game. It's kind of probably limited to in scope. I'm guessing, but there's quite a bit for a demo.
Okay.
So it's going to be one of those things where I kind of grab my insect glaive Elu. I'm with you. That's my weapon of choice. And just go to town, man. I want to see the full game. I want to see what they can do. And it's already got a ton of fans. It's one of the
it's a big franchise, dude.
Right? I mean, it's probably sold more. Is it their best-selling game? I think
Capcom.
It is. Yeah. It's and that's saying a lot, man. And so I'm excited for it. We'll see how it comes out. On the 26th March. Ready to go, man.
It is kind of crazy to think, Series X and PS5 are here, and we've talked, about how big of a technological upgrade they are from the One X and PS4 Pro. And I think all of us know, we look at the Xbox One, the launch Xbox One, and PS4 as very outdated at this point in time, right?
Sad.
And it's kind of crazy to think that the Switch is weaker than those.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? And that it's still the best-selling console in the world right now by like not even a margin.
Yep.
So, but that is interesting. So that's good to hear. It plays well. Were you playing docked or undocked? I'm just curious because undocked it's usually a little worse. But
no, I played docked. And thank you, Nintendo, for coming into the 20th century and allowing me to remap my buttons on my Pro controller so that they're not backwards like they are for some reason.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's weird how they did that.
Yeah. So, Pong, what's up, Pong? Good to see you in the house, man. Awesome show so far, gentlemen. You're making Saturday housework much more enjoyable. Good. That's what we're all about, man. Thank you for that. Good to see you. Good to see some other people I saw. Where we at here? Pong Soul tweeted, came out to hang out with you guys. Thanks, man. Isuko, good to see you. Thanks for coming by. All right, guys. Indy, Sav, you guys Monster Hunter fans?
No.
You're good. I told you you're hitting all the right notes.
The last time I tried was 3 Ultimate on the Wii U. I remember like King and I both downloaded that demo, and we were like, all right, we're gonna give this a shot for real. And we tried, and it's like you said, like the weapons, like the heaviness of the weirdness of them, the heaviness, and I'm like, this game could play better if they wanted it to. I don't understand, and I know World has made some improvements. But I didn't touch World. So, but the funny thing is, I did download the demo. So I'm gonna try again. Let's see. Yeah.
You let me know because I have tried multiple times
That's
to get
the
in.
thing, though, right? Like when I had never played a Monster Hunter World or game before World. I've heard of them obviously, but I never played one. So I was like, and like the combat is so different. It's not just swing, dodge,
hack and slash.
There's a ton of it too. Yeah, it's not a hack and slash game. Yeah. There's a lot more to it. Some of the weapons I still don't understand, like the horn and stuff like that. I have no idea how even that works. But like if you want something that's gonna be a little bit more mobile, like with the insect glaive, you're basically jumping all over the place. That's the closest thing you're gonna get to like a hack and slash, I think.
Yeah.
So it's just it's definitely different. It's not your typical combat. It's more about your build, I think, and depending on the monster you're taking on, you've got to be set up, especially to explore its weaknesses.
Yeah, my stepson just moved in, and he's got like hundreds and hundreds of hours into it. But I think for him, what he tells me is that he's got a lot of complaints with the game. He said, but because it's more of one of those kind of party experiences where you plan and the big monsters feel like raids, you know, like you're working together and playing with your friends, him and his friends. That's why they've put so much time into it. So anyway.
Even though it has one of the worst online, you know, like
it's
just
garbage.
to get together with people.
Yeah,
it's just like, okay, put in this 18-digit code and then say 3 Hail Marys and then see what happens. You know, and that's
you know, it says play through zillion, write down all the codes and then enter those too.
When I came out, I was like, how in the hell are we supposed to do this, man?
Yeah. Pampa, $5 Pampa in the house. What's up, man? I came into Monster Hunter World Talk. What is going on? I don't know. It got away from me. Great show, gentlemen. Archimedes, see you later, man. Husk, what's up, brother? Good to see you. And Elu is blowing up chat because he loves Monster Hunter World and gives me shit about it all the time. So I'm gonna leave his comments off the screen. I mean, no, Indy, you a fan of this?
No, I'm afraid not, my friend.
All right, we're three for four. We're winning this battle.
Yes. I did like what Dan had to say about it, though. It's interesting actually to hear that because I did kind of feel like it was a hack and slash kind of experience. But yeah, it's interesting. I can definitely see how that does fit into that. It's kind of maybe it's fantasy element sort of coming into it. Like, but it's just not really. It's not really for me. So much time in the day, I'm afraid.
That's fair. It can be a grindy game as well, but I know that's why people have hundreds and hundreds of hours into it. Yeah. So that's cool though. And I think it was Elo did point out, or someone pointed out, it might have been Has, that said it's in Game Pass too. So if you do want to try Monster Hunter World, there you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. So we talked more about World than we did Rise.
It's okay.
But yeah, anyway. Returnal is one I want to touch on. Returnal's coming out for PlayStation 5 exclusive. It's coming out March 19th. This is from Housemarque. I know we talked about this previously, but from Housemarque, who really make some strong games, including Nex Machina and Resogun, of course, which was the big PS4 launch title. This one looks to be kind of some of the things we were saying about the medium, right? Like this looks like the game that's taking Housemarque to the next level. Yep. Definitely a broader experience. They beefed up their team over the past few years, and they've been working on this one for a while. I really, really like what I'm seeing out of this so far, and I'm super excited about it. Any thoughts on these guys?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I've loved Housemarque since Super Stardust.
There you go. Yeah,
and to see kind of this evolution, and again, for them sort of to figure out, unfortunately, that the games that they're used to making just don't necessarily sell. Unfortunately, because they are fantastic games, but for them to get the chance to, like you said, beef up and get the chance to make a game that has more substance to it, story, voice acting, all of this stuff, I'm excited because when you look at the gameplay, it still feels like a Housemarque game.
Yeah, it looks like a shooter. Yeah,
it looks like a bullet hell shooter.
Yeah.
And I like the whole idea of it sort of being a kind of like a live, die, sort of repeat thing in the vein of like a roguelike. So with a story attached to it. And I would have never said that before playing Hades. I'm like, well, these two things don't go together. They don't make sense. And then you see Hades and I'm like, okay, they make sense. Let's do more of this. So I'm just super excited for them. Like the same way with Bloober team. This is a small team that's kind of getting a shot at the big time. In a time where we're just past that sort of initial launch window with the consoles. Everybody sort of played all the games that they kind of picked up right when they got their consoles, and they're waiting for the next wave. So, and these are two games that are kind of at the forefront of that. So I'm excited to see it. And it looks great. Yeah.
Andy?
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I've not got a load on this one, but from what I have looked into it looks superb. Really interesting sort of art style to it, sort of like otherworldly, which is fantastic, very unique. I love that. Always love a bit of uniqueness in games, have their own identity. And I didn't actually know it as roguelike as well, so that's interesting to hear, like Sov said. Hades has changed the book for a lot of people. Although, like Children of Morta also did a really good job of making story elements in the game and making you feel like you're always moving on. So they did a good job of that roguelikeness as well. If you did want to check that out, but yeah, move it back onto Returnal though. I do really dig what the so it kind of has a feel of oh god, it's totally gone out of my head. Oh my god, who's
that's the season part of gaming?
Jeff Keighley's best friend's game.
Kojima, Death Stranding.
Thank you so much. Oh my god, what happened to my brain then? Yeah, it kind of has that kind
I
of
love
feel.
that to think of Kojima. We have to say Jeff Keighley.
What a weird way. That's the access. He's the guardian of that.
the guy that Jeff Keighley hopes is texting him right now.
That's quite amusing. I couldn't think of it. I couldn't think of Death Stranding. I couldn't think of the developer, but I could think of Jeff Keighley's best friend. How bizarre. But yeah, definitely has that kind of like drained, like sort of like a desaturated look, if you see what I mean. Like the Death Stranding game that sort of has that visual style as well, I believe. And obviously the weird sort of technology that seems to be in it. But yeah, the action looks good. I think that's going to be a one-up on Death Stranding style. I think some nice shooting action looks like it's got some good stuff on that aspect. But yeah, I'm intrigued by it a lot, and if it has got that roguelike element, as long as they make sure that the story, it doesn't feel too painful in that regard, and it's the story's moving forward, and you're gaining your elements as you move forward, and it keeps you enticed, then I'm definitely up for checking it out. Is it just the PS5 exclusives, or is it PC as well for this one?
PS5.
Just PS5, so I won't be checking it out then, guys, I'm afraid. This is why it's slightly off my radar, because I haven't got a PS5, by the way.
Gotcha. Okay.
Xbox and PC, I Switch as well, but Switch is kind of just sitting there. But yeah, so when it comes to PC later, which I'm sure it will, then I will definitely be checking it out. But just based on what I've seen, it does look really interesting, and very, very cool looking game. Something different to anything else, really unique, stands out from the crowd.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, but I think that's going to be the interesting thing is how they integrate story into this, because their games have been mechanically brilliant, but they're not story games really.
Sure.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they develop that main character that they've shown off. I don't know her name off the top of my head. But yeah, to see what comes of it. He said Pong said 7 degrees of Keighley. So I was waiting for Kojima to enter the chat and be like, just so we're clear, he's not my best friend.
Yeah. Keighley is the punch bag of the games industry, I believe.
There's reason there though.
I suppose so.
All right, a couple others I want to touch on, and then Indy, we're gonna kind of come to you here shortly to talk about some of the indie games coming, because your knowledge on that is obviously extensive. But interesting one too, another PS5, but it is coming to PS4 and PC as well, as Kena, Bridge of Spirits. This was supposed to launch in late 2020. It's one of those many games that got delayed out of the year due to COVID, and just looks really unique, really charming in a way, and really different. So I checked this morning. Ember Lab hasn't given an update, just saying, expected first half of 2021. But yeah, I think this is one that's going to be one of those games that just is a fun game to play. There's some games that are just enjoyable to sit down and play. I'm going to go ahead and insert my Sackboy plug right now, that if you haven't played Sackboy, do it. But yeah, I think this could be one of those games that's just an enjoyable, and it looks gorgeous from what we've seen of it too. But I didn't realize until this morning, you guys can correct me, I thought this was a PS5 only game with PC.
It's PC as well, yeah.
Yeah, but it's literally listed on their Twitter that's PS4 as well. So it's another cross-gen game.
Okay,
cool.
So pretty cool, but guys, feel free. Any comments on this one?
It's got kind of like cameo vibe.
It does. Big time.
I was gonna say, it reminds me of cameo.
Big time.
Yeah, this is
underrated game, by the way.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those games where it's like, man, when they first showed it, I was like, okay, this looks really, really good. Just for, like you said, Ames, it's just kind of one of those games that's just fun.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't take itself too seriously, but also, it could be really, really good. I have no idea. But I am going to get it and for sure be playing that one.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, this one for me is definitely very much already on my radar and on my list of games, most anticipated games for the year for sure. amazingly, it is an indie game, this one, and because it looks so polished, it might deceive people. But yeah, honestly, I think this game is going to be magical. Literally and figuratively. It's the team who are actually making it. They started out as an animation studio, and that is potentially why the polish of the visuals, like the kind of like cinematic visuals, look so good. I believe it's just they've got that sort of credentials in their background. I think they started out doing. I did have a look at their website. Like they did like work for Coca-Cola and stuff like that. So they've got like quite a good background in that department. Obviously, they've moved into gaming now, which is awesome for us guys. But yeah, I think the game looks really, really cool. I think this based around sort of it's obviously kind of like a fantasy-ish game, but with the little I don't know if the things are called embers or the little guys who run around with the fluff balls. But yeah, I think this part of the game is kind of like Ori. You know how you have to go through the game and cleanse the sort of forest essentially, and it's sort of darkness, and you bring it back to life. So that seems like what's going on in the game. I just feel like it looks absolutely stunning.
It does.
The combat looks really cool. I do enjoy the perspective, and and the sort of like some of the bosses and enemies in the game look really interesting. I'm definitely well up for Kena. Definitely, I think it's is it quite soon in March potentially? Is that what the
No, they don't have a date.
They don't have a date.
First half of 2021 currently.
First half, yeah. That's the indie way, as you probably well know. Like it's usually like 2 weeks or like 3 weeks before release, and they're like, we're releasing on this date, which is good. That you usually want to be complete on everything before they sort of commit, which you probably well know. But yeah, I think that works well for independent developers and makes a lot of sense. Sometimes maybe. I'm moving aside now, but AAA developers put so much pressure on themselves by setting a date like way ahead of time, and then all they have to do is just meet that date. Like I think that's a good thing about indie developers is they will make sure they've got it right how they want, although that will probably involve some procrastination over the project. But at the end of the day, at least they get it how they want to a certain level, if you see what I mean, and then they commit to the date. But for moving back onto the topic, Kena looks marvelous and definitely will be a game that I'm checking out for sure.
Real quick, Solve. So a bunch of questions in chat around Returnal, and that's what I was looking through real quick to find news. So as far as I can see, including from the developer themselves, it says it's a PS5 exclusive. Will use 3D audio and haptic feedback, so the features of the PS5. There is no news of it coming to PC as of now. So may come in the future, but everything I see, unless guys, if you're listening and find something else, let me know. But everything I see is saying this is pure PS5 only, which is what I thought it was originally.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if you look at Housemarque, they've generally just been working hand in hand with PlayStation for a very long time. So I think this is the game that finally, pushes them over the edge if it's good, and they finally get bought out, because it's one of those. It's one of those relationships. Like, come on, man.
They should just be part of it by now.
A bit like Bloober, isn't it, with Xbox kind of thing?
I'm kind of surprised at that one actually, because there's been a lot of rumblings. About Bloober for a while. So, but anyway, back to Kena. Any interest in Kena, Soft?
A lot, yeah. I think in that initial reveal of PlayStation games, that was the one that stood out. Forget about Miles, forget about Demon Souls.
Okay, careful now. Careful.
I forget about them. They're fantastic. They're fantastic. But it was like, these were kind of, well, not Miles, but the Demon Souls was an assumed quantity. And so this is the one that sort of came out of left field that I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And then just like Dan said, like immediately I was like, cameo. It looks like cameo to me. I want more cameo. And to know, like Indy said, that there a lot of them worked on, on CGI and stuff like that, and weren't necessarily game developers. When you see how that game looks, it looks like a Pixar movie. So just excited for it, because it's one of those things, like it's a level of quality and fidelity that you don't see necessarily from indie games. And I think one of the things we're going to see be more prominent in this generation is that small teams have the same access and ability to use these tools that the big teams are using, and the process to me has gotten streamlined and I guess simplified, but in such a way that it's not out of the realm of possibility that a small team or one person can make something that looks amazing. If you look at Bright Memory Infinite, that's one dude, and it looks amazing. So I'm just all on board for any new team coming in or small team coming in trying to make something that sort of competes with the big boys. And the moment I saw this, I was like, yes, give me now. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see it. I'm really excited to see gameplay. See how it plays.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, it's a good one. So I hope
there is some game. Sorry to cut you off. There is some gameplay in the trailer. I don't know if you remember, but it's over the shoulder sort of bow and arrow stuff.
And that's the thing. When I looked at it, I'm like, is that a vertical slice? I hope it looks like that and plays like that. But you
want to see an uncut 14-minute trailer like that.
There you go.
Show us it running in reality. Yeah.
What you mean.
One of the other games that I'm incredibly pumped for, and I know I've talked about it before, is Psychonauts 2. So Psychonauts 2 is coming supposedly, again, first half. There's no date. First half 2021. Obviously coming from Double Fine. Long, development cycle for this game because when they were bought up by Microsoft and Xbox, they went back and basically put in all of the content that they were going to pull out. For those that don't remember, Psychonauts 2 was originally funded by Fig. So it was basically crowdfunded originally. Right. And as they got into development, they have said now, Tim Schafer has come out on multiple interviews and said, they started to pull bosses out and levels out because they just weren't going to meet, the goals of the game with the development money and time they had. But now they've been given this extra time, saw it at, like we were just joking, E3 2019, which is now a year and a half ago, and it already looked incredible. So I can only imagine what that full game is going to be like. It's going to be an absolute joy. The sense of humor is just, it's alive and well. And those guys really make some fun and funny games. So absolutely pumped for this one.
Yeah, I agree. I the first Psychonauts, my brother is the one that actually sort of introduced me to it because I when it came out, which was like 2005.
It's way back.
Yeah. So we're looking at 16 years ago now. I was kind of in that mode where it's like, it seems kiddie to, even though it's a platformer, like I like platformers, but it seemed kiddie-like, and I didn't want to get into it. And I saw my brother playing it, and I'm like, all right, let me give it a chance. And it's like you said, that Double Fine, Tim Schafer sort of sense of humor. And then when you look at the premise of the game, the fact that, that you're jumping into people's minds and sort of how everyone's mind is different and how they sort of project that as a level in a game was super interesting.
Brilliant at the time.
Absolutely brilliant. And to see it finally, a sequel finally come to fruition all this time later. And again, having the Microsoft bag behind you doesn't hurt. Don't hurt. It doesn't hurt. So I think, and I know he recently had an interview with Ryan McCaffrey on IGN.
Yeah, he said actually right here, Hassan just said interview with IGN 2 weeks ago. Content's done.
Yeah, so, the content's done.
It's all polished.
And the excitement for me in terms of the content was, like you said, when it was on Fig, to hit certain goals, they were taking stuff away from the game. And to me, that means you're removing levels. And this game is about the levels. It's about how do they encompass somebody's mind, right? And how do you create a platforming level out of that? That's the big draw to me, right? And if you remember, the original game kind of ends on a bit of a kind of cliffhanger. So to see this finally come to fruition is fantastic. And the fact that everybody's going to get it because it was one of those games before the purchase of Double Fine. So I really do want to see, the PlayStation sort of fan get to play this game as well. It's not coming to Switch, right?
Not that I'm aware of, no. Yeah. But as we keep talking about, it's Game Pass day one, right? So the fact that Psychonauts 1 was such a brilliant game, but undersold really, or didn't sell as well as they had hoped. The fact that Double Fine is going to get to see this game that they've put so much hardened to be played by just millions of people.
Yeah.
On day one, it's just, I don't know. It makes me feel good.
It definitely makes me feel good because it's true. It's the Game Pass thing where day one millions of people have access to it.
Yeah.
And if obviously if early takes and reviews are good, everybody's going to want to see what this is about.
No doubt.
We don't get a lot of platformers in this type of vein where it's kind of story wise it's a little weird and cerebral and Double Fine humor is just it's very specific. Something about it. So I'm
really
excited.
Good writing. They're just really good
Excellent
at it.
writing.
So, by the way, play Sackboy. What's going on? Good to see Wise Old Gamer, and I saw Bombers in the house. Sark, what's up, brother? By the way, guys, if you're just joining us, still doing one more gift card giveaway. Just put in the chat whether you want Xbox or PlayStation. $20 gift card. We're going to pick a winner here shortly. So please do that if you want to enter it. Indy, Psychonauts fan, man?
I did actually miss the first game, I have to admit, but I am super excited for this one though. I'm a big fan of Double Fine. I love Tim Schafer. I love how quirky he is. He's just such an individual. I watch a lot of the interviews and stuff that he does. He's an absolute legend in the gaming industry. And yeah, it was quite a surprise when Microsoft actually picked up Double Fine, because I would thought they were definitely one of the kind of developers who like their independence, if you see what I mean.
Oh yeah.
So it only went to it's testament to the fact that Microsoft do allow you to have your independence as a a partner of the Xbox team, which is fantastic, because I like I say, they would never have signed up to be a part of it if Microsoft didn't allow them that freedom. So it's great to see that the Xbox do allow all their developers on their teams that freedom to create what they want to create, because people like Tim Schafer are all about that creative freedom and doing what they want to do with their games, and you can see that in Psychonauts 2 in spades. It is one of the quirkiest and individual looking games there is. What a cool idea, going inside the brain, accessing all kinds of quirky sort of characters and story beats and stuff like that. I am super excited to play this game. Even got Jack Black on the soundtrack. Which is a pretty cool. Some people don't like Jack Black. I think he's pretty damn awesome. I know he's friends with Tim Schafer as well, which is cool. So they're harnessing that because they've worked together before, haven't they? Of course, on Brutal Legend. But in Psychonauts, it's just what I love in games is where it does stuff differently, and I feel like Psychonauts is cool because it does appeal to sort of like a broad audience. I think it will appeal to sort of like a younger audience and an old audience because it's got the sort of the mind bending things, mind bending sort of like parts of the game where it's sort of adults, and you've also got that sort of platforming, colourful, and it's like engaging for children as well. So I feel like that's a good one to go into Game Pass and for many people to check out. So yeah, in other words, I'm very much excited for this game. I have been for a while, and it's great to see it coming together. Like you did say, it was crowdfunded through Fig initially, and yeah, they did have to draw back a little bit on development. And yeah, it was cool that they did actually get to realize their original vision with after Microsoft signed them, and they brought it all together because it's an ambitious project, and I think it's going to pay off because it looks super cool.
Yeah, I think so too. It's an interesting point you made about the kind of age thing there, because I think Psychonauts is one of those games where it has something for adults, as you said, but children or younger people can play the game, have fun with it, laugh at it without necessarily even realizing the references and aspects of it.
That's the most clever humor, isn't it? It's like The Simpsons. It sort of has a multi-layered. It's got like a joke that maybe a child would get, but there's a little sexual innuendo or whatever. It might be an adult joke. They can go. It doesn't affect the child. It's not like it's not in an indecent way, but the adult goes, oh yeah, you know what I mean. It's got multi-layered stuff. Is clever. Yeah, and I think that has this.
Yeah, no doubt. It's funny you guys talking about the levels because one of the levels, if you played Psychonauts 1 all the way through, the Milkman level is like legendary. It's absolutely legendary. Like when I first played that, and also the Godzilla level. Yeah. But when I first played those, I was just blown away. I was like, "This is if you haven't played the first one, Indy,
I need to catch up.
You got to and play it.
time.
It's optimized on the on the Series
Xbox.
X and One X now. So
nice.
it's
I
sharper.
do actually have it. I do.
Yeah,
have
it's
it
sharper.
Cool. That's cool. I might have to do that then. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's still worth playing for sure.
Awesome.
Chat, I'm doing the same thing. Sorry, I was reading chat. One interesting one I wanted to touch on real quick is Biomutant. You remember this game?
Oh yeah, baby. They just did an update like a couple months ago, maybe.
Yeah, a little while ago.
Yeah.
Because people just keep asking, is this game still coming? What happened to it? And I know, Sav, you saw, but this game was playable at E3 2019. And it was a decent chunk of the game, and it played well. I have footage. We have footage on our channel of it, and I think if they've continued to polish it and improve it, as we've seen, Dan's breaking stuff over there. But this game is still coming, and something came out this week. We didn't post it because it seemed kind of out there in terms of rumor, but in one of the fiscal reports for the publishing company, they mentioned a new IP that was going to launch in the before March 31st, and people seem to think it's going to be Biomutant. I think that may be a little bit of a stretch, but hey, if it's true, then by all means, that'll be awesome. But the game really is pretty. It's smooth. It plays well. And if it kind of delivers on the things that they've talked about, this would be one to watch out for sure.
I'm excited for it. I mean, it's they haven't given a whole lot more information. So
no,
but we've seen. I'm at this point, just drop it. I love the shadow drops. I've said that before. Just give me something, and just unexpected. It's like, hey, we got a new trailer. Oh, by the way, you can go buy it right now. That's what I want to see with games, especially given that, the situation and we're going to get delays. We saw Outriders, and we're going to see more and more of these games get delayed as, we go on this year. And so it's it's to be expected. This one, it's one of those games where it's like, man, initially it looked really, really good, and it's like, I want to give this a shot, but then it just went like dark, and I have no idea what's happening.
So has just said they said April and June.
Man, I'm good with that. That's fine. So it's a good time.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. You said, Ames, we saw this game at E3, and it looked fantastic, and what we played looked polished as well.
Yeah, it did.
So, to know that they sort of went dark and are coming back with an even more polished product, and particularly what they promised with this game, where it's like, you're kind of interchanging all of your body parts. It's funny, like you talk about kind of what Cyberpunk kind of people expected from Cyberpunk to be able to like change up your entire body and stuff like that. And the fact that it's an open world sort of action RPG, I think one of the more exciting things about it is this is the studio's first game, but one of the founders of the studio was worked at Avalanche. And Avalanche, if you look at the Just Cause games are sort of gleefully broken. And
that's a great way to say it.
They are, these humongous sandbox that you can pretty much do anything you want in. And when it works so well. On consoles, they've never run the best and stuff like that. But if you can get, Just Cause 3, Just Cause 4, if you sort of deck your character out and sort of use all of your abilities and gadgets to the most, like you can do some really bonkers stuff in those worlds. So to see another game kind of have that sort of design philosophy is very interesting to me. And if they can give me a great story along with memorable characters, I think it'll be a home run. But it's a game that has always interested me. From the first time I saw it, I'm like, who is this sort of like raccoon-looking character? So yeah, very interested. And the fact that it went dark and that didn't mean that it was dead in the water is fantastic. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and to be clear on the raccoon, kind of funny-looking cat characters, there's a pretty in-depth character creator as well.
Very much.
So you can mess with all your fur colors and stripes and all kinds of stuff. So it definitely definitely should be fun if they nail it, like you said.
Yeah,
nice. Yeah,
Andy?
it looks great. I mean, I won't have too much on this one because I'll keep going on a bit too long, but I think Biomutant looks fantastic. Another great game. It seems like we've done quite a few third person in that kind of vein. We've done a few in that sort of vein, which are looking good, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But that's got a very unique look as well. And the combat looks really cool in it. Definitely interesting. I think, some people will feel like sometimes these games sort of disappear for so long. Maybe it was because it looks so good and polished. You were under the impression it might be coming sooner. Like, but they've sort of done it to themselves in a way. You know what I mean? By doing so well in the early stages. But yeah, it's only testament to the fact that it looks so good that everyone wants it. So I'm sure it's gonna be an interesting one to check out. I'm definitely interested in seeing how that one turns out for sure.
Yeah, hopefully we hear about it soon. So let me announce second winner today is DDave104. DDave104. So if you're still in the chat, hit me up in my DMs on Twitter. Congrats, man. Just let me know what platform you want to get, and we'll hook you up. So thank you. All right. I actually did have one more to mention, only because the little statue right here reminded me of it, and we haven't heard about it in so long. It's Dying Light 2. This is a big game. From Techland, and they came out right at the end of the year, just a week or two ago, and said, there's going to be some big news on this in 2021. Still no date or anything like that, and we just saw that the writer and art director that had been there for 21 years or 22 years left this week. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, right? Especially if you're part of the writing or art production team, which probably for the most part is done at this point. But this game, I know when we saw it again, going back to E3 2019, it won all sorts of awards. And it just looks really brilliant. It really does. It looks like Dying Light 1's kind of environment and parkour and, looting where you can customize your weapons and the intensity of the zombies, but mixed in with like the RPG elements of conversational choices that impact the world around you. And from what we saw, I know it was only one mission they showed, but it looks excellent. And if they can get this optimized properly, running right, come out of the gate strong, this is going to be one of the biggest games of the year, I promise. If it lands like they want it to.
It's one of those games where, like, I played some of Dying Light, and I really liked what I played, and then I got to a point like the gate in Resident Evil 7, and I stopped playing because I lost my shit. It's so I can't do horror games. Like, we talked about the medium a little bit, and that's going to be one that I'm going to try because I don't have to pay for it because I have Game Pass. So I'm going to hopefully it's not as intense. Like, I don't like getting chased around by stuff, or stuff just jumping out of nowhere. I can't stand that stuff. My heart is already, about ready to go out. So, I don't need any pushes from my hobby, to push me into the grave here. But from what I saw, and really all I've seen is from that stuff from E3, it looks really cool. Like the the whole world and what they're doing with the different, I think, factions and stuff. I don't know, man. I'm going to try it again, and I'll probably get 10% of the way through, and then I'll get to a point where like something like, you got to get back and run. Like, okay, no, and then it's going to catch me, and then I'm going to die, and then I'm going to be like, no.
I think a lot of at least what they showed, and I'm sure the zombies are still going to play a huge aspect, of course, or part of it, but a lot of what they showed is actually human on human. And that's where the kind of combat and the whole faction and RPG elements come in, is you're rivaling or negotiating with other, groups of these humans. So we'll see.
Yeah, I love that human on human action.
Yeah, I'm also very excited for this game. I admit, like, when the first one came out, I was sort of kind of like a little bit worn on zombie stuff, and I was like, oh, I don't know if it's gonna hit.
Yeah.
And then playing it, I was like, wow, this is very well done. And the horror stuff, I love horror stuff. So I love being scared to death. And, the fact that you had to go and get all your stuff done before it got dark, because then you were going to be in trouble. And it was just like, that sense of dread. I love playing a game.
That was it. That was the point.
He was like terrified, just terrified. Like, hurry up.
Like, why is the sun still going down? This is crazy.
This sucks. But man, I love that so much. And to sort of when they first talked about 2 and the ambitiousness of the game, I was like, wow, they're really trying to take this to the next level. In terms of the size and scope of the game, it almost felt to me like they were trying to turn it kind of into an immersive sim, where it's like, okay, we're going to give you this humongous world that you can traverse in a way no one else can. And we're going to give you all the tools to sort of break that and in terms of gameplay that. And then when you couple that with the idea of the factions and how your decisions and your actions affect the world in real time, and like when you can literally sort of something that you do, you'll see the very next day some affect the game world in a diverse way. I think is super interesting to me and super ambitious. And if they're able to do it again, I'm just glad that they at some point didn't decide to bring out a game that was sort of a shadow of what they wanted to do. So take as long as you need, even if it doesn't come this year. I love to see it, but take as long as you need, because if they're able to hit on the things that they've been talking about and promising, this is going to be a very special game. Very special game.
Very well said. Very well said. Yeah, I think your point about the environment and being able to break it per se is some of the aspects I love about almost like the Arkane games.
Deathloop.
I missed that on the list. I somehow jumped over. We're going to touch on that too, but I know we're running longer here, so I wanted to make sure we hit everything. But Dying Light 2, I know indie. Obviously, this is not an indie game, but did you have any interest? Did you play Dying Light 1? Anything?
Yeah, I played Dying Light 1. Was cool. I don't think I finished it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It seems like forever ago for some reason, but I'm really interested to see, because I feel like Dying Light 2, this is a true sequel in my opinion, because it's kind of they're really changing things up, but at the same time, obviously keeping the essence of the first game. From what I can tell anyway, it seems it just feels very fresh, like they've really gone back to the drawing board. What can we do? We've got great foundations here. How can we build on this? I'm basing this on all I've seen from the showings at, was it the E3 before last that we must have
2019,
it feels quite crazy. But yeah, it does feel a lot different. The first game kind of felt to me kind of like, it didn't feel so. It kind of like, it felt like a concrete jungle in a way, in a sort of like monotonal way. I don't know if that's a bit harsh, but this one feels like a bit more vibrant and a lot more sort of like variety in the landscape and stuff like that. Different kind of buildings, higher buildings and stuff like that, from what I could tell. And is the introduction of factions, is that a new the 5 factions? Is that a new thing as well?
The way it can, depending on what you do with those factions, it changes the world. Yes. Yeah,
that's very interesting. I think it gives you that Walking Dead. The telephone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's different factions in that. I feel like maybe they've got some influence from that a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. And I feel like it gives it that a bit more, interest in general. I felt that the first game was cool. I liked the nighttime aspect where you had to get back, all that stuff. I felt like it did kind of need a little bit something for my liking. I know it's a very celebrated game, but I feel like this one with those new elements would definitely be a nice addition to the game. And I'm sure it's going to be a pretty cool game. I'm not sure when it's going to come though. Still, it's been a little bit quiet, but hopefully soon.
Yeah, I'm sure what they're doing, or at least what they've shown, is really ambitious. So I can imagine they've run into a lot of snags, and then obviously COVID hits, and we've heard it all before, right? So
absolutely.
All right, Soph, we got to do it then. Let's touch on Deathloop before I get to indie and some of the indie titles. Deathloop, Arkane, next title, PS5 timed exclusive, which Xbox is honoring still as part of that, publishing deal, coming May 21st now. And if you missed it, I put in my notes here, Games Radar has some exclusive kind of coverage of it this month, and they put an article out either yesterday or the day before, a very strong article around what to expect of this game and why they think it's going to really, I won't say move the FPS genre forward, but really kind of, add some flavor to it based on than a straight shooter. And so, yeah, I'm a huge Arkane fan. I adore those games. Prey, I still think is massively underrated, and I'm really interested to see what Deathloop's like. But I'm there day one on the PS5 for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So am I. I'm day one. I play. Listen, I know they're first party now, but I generally play all my third party on Xbox.
Me too.
And I'm not waiting. It's not happening. I'm not waiting. Yeah. This game, Arkane. I'm a huge immersive sim fan. Going all the way back to Deus Ex, System Shock.
Yes, classics.
These games that, like I said, with an immersive sim, you're generally placed into a world where you don't really belong there necessarily, but you can manipulate the world in a way that the inhabitants of the world necessarily can't, and that allows you to do a whole bunch of messed up stuff in that world and approach scenarios in a variety of different ways. While still the ones that I've played, obviously Deus Ex and System Shocks, are also RPGs in that sense. So it's very, very open sort of mechanics. And Arkane took that core and essentially made action games with that. When you look at Dishonored and Prey, I just love those games because you can break those games. I love games that you can just go in and break them, and approach scenarios any which way you want. And to see this now, sort of the evolution of that with Deathloop, and I kind of, when I saw the gameplay, and I remember initially seeing it at the Bethesda press conference in 2019. I was at the press conference and I was with Cog, and I wasn't so sure about the art style initially. I was like, okay, fine. But the gameplay, when you talk about things like Hitman and Hitman 3 and approaching scenarios in a different way, and how do you do things so that you can manipulate kills the way you want, get two targets together at one time, or you have to be in a certain place at a certain time, and you have to pay attention to, sort of AI routines and stuff like that, and be patient. Man, I'm just giddy with the things that I know I'm going to try to do in this game. So yeah, I love Arkane. I love the fact that we're Xbox now, I think is going to allow them to sort of, their games are going to Xbox and Game Pass, right? The Game Pass thing puts it so that it puts it in front of people.
Yes, I was just going to say that.
Who may not have cared before, and just gives them an opportunity to sort of be seen by more eyes. And I love these type of games. I think they're underrated all the time because it's just, people don't kind of understand them. And I'm just excited to have this in front of as many eyes as possible. So yeah.
100%. Yeah.
I mean,
Bizzle, appreciate the super chat, brother. Got to duck out. Get ready for it. Great show. Great chat. Have a great Saturday, everybody. Thanks, man. Always appreciated. Indy, you get into the Arkane games at all?
There's some. I mean, I do dig Arkane because they always seem to be pushing the creativity again. They always come back with something new. They don't tend to do sequels very often, as far as I'm aware. They seem to move on to a new project and fresh ideas, fresh IPs kind of thing. I do really like that about them. They're not like stuck on Assassin's Creed 100. You know what I mean? Different kind of studio, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. I mean, Deathloop looks cool. It's got an interesting hook. It's very different to their last game. They're changing it up all the time, which is really cool. It's essentially another rogue. It's got the rogue aspect to it. Has it? Are we talking here? Is with the loop aspect?
That's what it sounds like. Is like you get a time period or a death, and then you start over as you learn more about the environment. So it's almost like a first-person shooter roguelike with arcane elements, which just sounds like a mashup that I've been waiting for my whole life.
Definitely. And you got to applaud them for their creativity, as we've said, and you just said, like, I just love that. It does look interesting. I remember seeing the trailer. Looked cool. Looked different to anything else again. Yeah, so I haven't got too much on this one, but I'm interested to see how that plays out in game. Hopefully, it's not something that holds it back. Its core doesn't hold it back. Hopefully, it's something which makes it flourish in a sense. with the loop aspect. Am I right in saying there's something involved where you start in one area of the map and there's someone else out to get you in another area of the map, and you've got to did I imagine hearing that somewhere?
No, I don't. Well, you may know better than me, Sav, but I know there is some sort of aspect to it where it's almost like a race.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
To do something, but I don't know all the details of how it works.
There apparently there are 2 assassins.
That's it. Yeah.
And you have to try to get to the mark before they do.
Yeah, that sounds cool to me. It really does. Sounds really, really cool. Like I say, hopefully it's not just an idea which is cool and it's limiting in the grand scheme of things. I apologize to be a bit negative there. But, sometimes the idea can be great and then, maybe it's not got enough scope or whatever. But hopefully they have thought of great ways to, branch out from that core idea, which works. I'm definitely interested to see how it turns out.
And just one other note right there, right, as we learned this week that Arkane Austin in Texas is working on a new IP with the co-creator of Dishonored and Prey, who we were just talking about, of course. So this is obviously going to be under the Xbox Game Studios umbrella, completely separate from Deathloop, they said, and brand new IP, to your point, Indy, another new IP. So nice, yeah. This will be great. Doesn't sound like it's very far along, but hey, just to hear more good stuff is coming from them makes me happy.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
So Indy, I know we talked offline, and before we kind of move on to just what we're playing, wanted to quickly touch on maybe some of the indie games, or maybe even just one particular one you'd like to talk about that people should have their eyes on for early in 2021 here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's as always, there's a
obviously
ton.
There's a ton, right? So yeah.
I mean, I do actually. I have I'm at the moment trying to put together a video of like my most anticipated games for indie games, for 2021. So in the middle of my list coming together. So there's a ton I've got on here. But yeah, that will come together at some point. But to pick one is tricky. But yeah, I mean, there's a few which I will definitely have to say this one. Not have to say, it'll be a pleasure to say it, which is Song of Iron, which our good friend Archimedes has also covered himself, and I've also covered on my channel a couple of times. I did a playthrough of the Song of Iron demo, which was super cool, and also had Joe on, the developer, for an interview a few months before that as well. And I sort of the first after the reveal from the Idea Xbox showcase, I don't know if you remember that, it was a small little segment of it. I can't remember which month that took place in now. It was middle of last year, I believe, some point.
July, August, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere around that. But it was just a little it so shone through in a few seconds that it was part of that sizzle reel. I love those Idea Xbox sizzle reels. They always do a fantastic job of putting great games together and showing them off really nicely. Obviously, it would be nice if it was a full trailer being showed off in the whole thing, which was something we discussed, me and the developer, because what actually happened was I retweeted his tweet of this is the game trailer or whatever, on Twitter, and got quite a few likes and quite a lot of interest, and he dropped into my Twitter DM and just to say thanks and stuff, and then we got talking, and then from there I sort of said, would you ever fancy doing an interview and stuff? He's a really great guy, to top it all off, he's a really awesome guy, and he's working alone on Song of Iron, which is incredible. Wow. He's got a sound guy as well, but he was doing it on the side until the end of last year. He was working as an animator in AAA development until the end of last year, and now in this year he's just gone full time with Song of Iron, and he's approaching the final stages of it. So and he's got a release window of middle of this year, which is super exciting. He is a very efficient worker indeed. When I had him on the show, he was like, it's going to be spring. Actually, that's one little slip he's done. It was going to be spring originally, but I won't hold that against him. But yeah, he's incredibly quick worker. He's doing this amazingly fast, and the game is superb. If you haven't checked out Song of Iron already, it's one of his influences is Inside. and what other games was he like? Games like that. But in his game, he's got some puzzle elements like Inside, which is obviously a fantastic game to be influenced by. But he's also got some really cool combat in there. It's like a Viking style game if you haven't checked it out already. But you'll definitely feel the Inside vibes when you play it. And yeah, like the demo was absolutely awesome. And I cannot wait. He's going for a kind of similar to, again, like Inside, he's going for a kind of rich experience rather than a long game. So it's a very story-driven game, and he's going for environmental storytelling as well. It's going to be sort of maybe a 3-hour-ish game, I think he said before, similar to Inside again. And it's gonna be more of a potent experience that you really feel like, wow, that was fantastic, in and out, and it leaves you thinking about it afterwards, if you see what I mean. So yeah, highly recommend checking out Song of Iron, as Joe is an awesome developer. He's known as Escape, is the studio name, but yeah, as I say, he's working alone and he's definitely doing a fantastic job. I could say a bunch of others if you wanted. It's up to you. I don't know if you would have to stop me like a flow of water, if you see what I'm saying. There is a ton of, I'm sure you guys know about The Ascent. Maybe someone else wants to talk about The Ascent. Cyberpunk World is going to be 4K 60 on the Xbox Series X. Looking fantastic. Team of 11, Neon Giant. That game is looking really cool. Could be coming soon. Annapurna have got 3 awesome games coming for us, which are looking to be moving to the polishing stages, which are The Artful Escape. You probably remember seeing that at an E3 conference. And we also have 12 Minutes, of course.
Yes, that's my most anticipated indie this year.
Nice. Yeah, it seems to have a lot of attention, a lot of love from the community, which is obviously very much deserved, as it does look really cool. And it's very unique again, top-down perspective. Obviously a 12-minute time loop, and where you have to figure out the story as it unfolds and just go through motions, trying different narrative routes and stuff like that. There's a murder that's taken place. Really interesting, very cinematic feel to it as well. And obviously they got 3 awesome voice actors, including Daisy Ridley, which is pretty damn cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
James McAvoy.
James
McAvoy. And of course, William Dafoe.
Yes.
amazing voice cast. Oh my God.
That is superb, isn't it? Because it was looking great anyway, and then they added that quite recently, wasn't it? It was like, wow, that's going to top it off. And when you've got a story-driven game, having good voice talent is a really big thing for it. Like in Hades, the voice talent in that game is awesome. I won't go off into Hades because I will take a half an hour talking about my love for Hades. But yeah, there's a ton of great games. As I say, I won't list them all off because you're fine. Plug.
It's fine. It's exciting and it's almost overwhelming.
It really is,
because 2020 was outside of gaming, we won't talk about, but in gaming wise, 2020 was incredible. It's just, as the market continues to grow, we keep talking about this, right? The gaming market just grows. There's more developers, more publishers, more money being spent. There's more gamers. And so, we're getting to the point where it's just like, every week there's something to look forward to if you're paying attention to the whole gaming market.
Most definitely. And that's what I would say, like you've alluded to there, just encourage people to not just think about what's feeded to you without sounding disrespectful. Just go out there and look for some games. There's websites like releases.com, which I use, and that's got all the releases of the year. Look out for the games that are coming up, because sometimes they won't be sort of like fed to you all the time. Look out for these indie games, because there's some amazing games. Obviously Game Pass does a great job of giving some attention to that and letting us try them out, but seek those games out, as it's often very rewarding to find something special which is not being talked about. And that, like, for example, one game we got coming up this month that I know Lord Cognito is probably looking forward to, that is Cyber Shadow, because it's a ninja game.
Oh yeah.
If he hasn't heard about it already, that is, it's coming out on the 26th or 28th, and that's I think that's dropping straight into Game Pass. It's from Yacht Club Games, so and a solo developer. They're publishing that one, actually. It's a solo developer.
And to your point, Song of Iron, if I'm not mixing this up, that's an ID at Xbox game too, right?
Yeah.
It's on the ID Xbox program. That's right. Yes, indeed. So that's pretty damn cool. That gives it takes a little bit of weight off the mind from the developer. Obviously,
Yes.
they're not
Helps
a
them out.
publisher, but it does help them out in a lot of ways in like the marketing department, which is often the way they're probably the indie developers are quite daunted by getting their game out and showing to people. When it's shown on the big stage on ID Xbox Real, it's getting that attention, which is fantastic.
Well, that's how Cuphead blew up. I mean,
Yeah.
But I mean, we so many. I feel like so many topics we could talk about, but curation is the biggest problem for indie developers. And Steam has had, as Steam has exploded, there was a time where Steam finding new games on Steam was very easy among indie developers, and of course that's why it blew up. But now there's so many games that are released so frequently, it's really hard, and that's where Game Pass has another benefit, right? As we just talked about, it's giving people that opportunity to play games they might have never played.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, not everyone is like me who likes to sift through everything to find the gems, if you see what I mean. So yeah, Steam, I absolutely adore Steam, but I love it for that reason, because there's gems in there that people don't know about and stuff. And there's more indie games on there, because sometimes indie games get released on PC first, and then if they're they try the PC platform first, and then if it's successful, they'll go for a year later, they'll come out on another console or something, because it's a lot for some indie developers to do it all at once. So I love Steam for that regard. But yeah, there is a ton, so much on Steam, but I love it for that. But some people will probably find that quite a daunting thing. But hopefully that people like ID Xbox showing games off, and also hopefully my little channel helps a little bit by showing off some indie games that people want to check out, as that's my endeavor.
That's awesome. Guys, anything you want to add for indie or any of the games you touched on?
I mean, 12 minutes. I'm super excited. When I first saw that trailer, we just went crazy. And then a little while later, we ran into Patrick Maka, who I don't know if he played it or he got to see just gameplay of it, extended gameplay of the different scenarios that can happen in a singular run, and he was blown away by the amount of things that can happen differently, and actually the amount of control you had in that, where it wasn't you sort of along for the ride and making decisions at pivotal points. It's you creating situations to create those moments, right, rather than sort of just experiencing them. So he was blown away by it, and since then I've been super excited, and just the addition of that voice cast just puts it at another level for me.
That's really interesting to hear that, actually, because it obviously, not to take anything away from how amazing it looks, but we don't know too much about the gameplay at the moment, so that's interesting to hear those little segments there of that, because it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out in actual real time when you're actually playing the game,
right?
That's the thing in all games. It's always down to the gameplay if you actually enjoy the thing at the end of the day. So, but it has everything going for it. So hopefully it will be fantastic.
Yeah, it seems like everything is so reactionary, because then things are triggered that happen, and you have to react to the depending on how you want to do things, you sort of react to what's happening. If somebody's banging at your door trying to get in, you're trying to like hide evidence or
exactly.
It was just a bunch of different scenarios.
It's almost like a domino effect.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So that seems super awesome. And then something else you mentioned earlier, Andy, was Hollow Knight, Silk Song.
Yes, of course.
I am a Metroidvania fanatic.
Oh, my man.
And Hollow Knight is probably, I would say, it's right up there with the best ever. And it is one of those things where the aesthetic might turn some people off, because it seems very barren and lonely early on.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have to give it a little bit of time. But once you do, it's wow! It really is. I mean, it's up there with Metroid, and so it's Silk Song. I'm super excited.
Yeah. So you're excited for Silk. Did you see the recent news that came out? The Edge magazine reveal for Silk Song, and they showed a little bit of stuff, but still no release date, unfortunately. But Silk Song's my most anticipated indie game by far, definitely. I didn't mention that a minute ago because we still don't know the release date. So.
But I'm hoping this year. I'm really hoping for this year, but I don't know. And another one that I'm hoping for this year, again in that same Metroidvania vein, Axiom Verge 2.
Oh yes.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
I'm a fanatic of this stuff.
You've got to know. I've got a gem. I've got a little gem for you then, Sov, if you would like it. Anu, the Distant Light. You got to check it out, my friend.
Yes,
it's a little gem. So it's like a sci-fi Metroidvania. It's obviously like your Metroidvania. It's set in space. You're like sent out there, and you just got to discover the world. I mean, I don't need to sell it to you. I've played the demo. I did a demo on my channel. There is actually still a demo. It's made by Resonator. They're like a 2-person ex AAA developers. But yeah, it's spelled ANEW, The Distant Light, and I think you will really dig it, my friend. Just check it out and let me know what you think.
I've checked it out already.
You have already? Oh, so sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm laughing because if you go to our channel, I interviewed one of the developers.
You're the man.
2 years ago. And I remember we were walking by, and it's one of the at PAX East. There's so much great stuff on the show floor.
Yes,
it is so easy just to walk by stuff. And we're walking by, and King, because I was paired up with King, and King was doing the recording. I was doing the interviews, and he's like, "Wait, hold up, we have to go see this game." And I'm like, "Okay."
Yes.
And when we sat there and we saw it, and I spoke to, and again, I don't remember the details of the interview, but I know seeing it, because it's a Metroidvania, but it's a spaceship, right? If I'm not,
yeah, you sort of said you're like a child that's been like sent out into space, and you sort of like you don't know what's going on. You turn up there, and there's like 2 pods. One of the pods has like been broken away, and the other pod is like someone's escaped, and then you're there, and you're like, what's going on here? And then you sort of obviously, like most Metroidvania games do that really well. You're sort of like discovering as you go, kind of feel. But that's you're like on a space station. But they've shown their full map, which is quite surprising, because it just shows the scope of it.
You don't do that for a Metroidvania.
You don't usually do that. That's what I thought. But it is on there. I'm following on Steam and stuff. So they don't usually do that. But then it shows the scope of the game. I think they're saying it's 30 to 40 hours of gameplay. So I think they were proud to sort of show it, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. And this is 2 people making this game.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. I love Metroidvanias. People. I know there was a resurgence, and people got kind of tired of them, and they were dime a dozen. But give me more.
Yeah. There's another one just quickly. It's called Unbound Worlds Apart. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
I have not.
No, definitely check that one out if you like another Metroidvania. Unbound Worlds Apart is an awesome game. I've played the demo of that one as well. There's a prologue available on Steam if you wanted to try it out. Prologue on Steam.
There you go, Indy.
So did you play?
Nice.
Did you play Bloodstained by any chance? Did you like Bloodstained?
I didn't jump into it, actually. It was very surprising. I sort of I still need to. It's installed, and I should have done so far. It's just so many games. With indie games, there's even more than AAA games. Though.
Yeah,
it's just like it's hard to be that.
I really like 10 times more.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, but it's a beautiful thing to have, though. That more games is good.
It is endless. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, there really are so many to look forward to, like Tunic and everything, Sable. The Gunk, which is looking cool.
Dan's big on Tunic. Nice. I keep telling him I played it 2 years ago, but that doesn't make him any happier.
Yes.
Dan, you're on mute, dude.
Get early. Oh, is he? Looking forward to that Tunic goodness.
Yeah, Tunic looks awesome.
Yeah,
Martha is Dead is one that I want to try because it looks kind of.
Thought that was a horror game though.
I mean, it looks kind of like Edith Finch like.
Yeah, that's true.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Like maybe. It's okay. Yeah, again, I might get to a point. Little Nightmares 2 is huge for me, probably.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool. I think it's looking really, really good, actually.
Yeah. I've got the TV edition coming with the.
Sweet.
Nice.
The first one was really good.
It was.
I just want to give a quick shout out to Walter Shields in the chat. Yeah. I have not heard the words Midnight Resistance in so long.
Where is he? There you go. So Walt is the twin brother of Elu who writes for us.
Okay. Yeah. So. Love Midnight Resistance.
That's cool. Yeah, man. All kinds of games called out today. It's awesome.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, my list, I'm looking at on my screen right now, is 30 games, and I'm trying to put that into a video.
You're doing your own sizzle reel.
Yeah. 30, exactly. 30 indie games. I'll have to get that right down. I was thinking about doing it, part 1, part 2. I don't know what to do. There's just too many. That was hard to get it down to 30. I'm not going to even lie.
Shiz, what's up, brother? He said the Gunk, too. That's another cool one.
Yeah, the Gunk looks really cool.
So, I mean, like we said, it's endless. So.
Yeah. I'm definitely interested in the gunk. Just it's like because it's the SteamWorld devs, so I love the SteamWorld games, and that's their first 3D game that they're doing, and they've got such great original games like in 2D. All their games like SteamWorld High, SteamWorld Dig 2, two of my favorites. But yeah, I think the world in the gunk looks so detailed and unique and stuff again. So yeah, I won't go on because I know you want to wind things up probably, but yeah, I just really looking forward to the gunk. Looks special.
Nah, it's awesome, and you know what? It's okay. We can organize another show, and we'll just pick right up with more indie games later, man. So, man, I love the conversation, guys. Honestly, it's been great. I did want to touch on: is there anything currently playing, that you're playing right at the moment that you want to shout out on or talk about?
I'm playing everything. Basically, whatever I'm just throwing stuff, see what sticks. I'm kind of getting ready for Hitman.
You've only got 11 days till Hitman.
Well, that won't be a big problem. And then I'm going back to the Pathless, trying to get my platinum on that, which is going to take a while, I think. I'm just going to start fresh because it just seems like most of what I have left is going to just require me to remember what I actually did and what items and stuff I picked up. So it's just going to be easier if I just start again, which is fine by me. And then a little bit of Spider-Man here and there. I just kind of throw in whatever. It's just been
whatever hits the mood.
Yeah, whatever works. A little bit of Monster Hunter demo. I'm not. There's nothing I'm super hyper focused on right now. So just kind of whatever's on there, and maybe try to hit a couple games here and there. The only problem is my backlog. We talked about this earlier with the frame rate issues I have now. I can't. It's basically shrunk my backlog to nearly nothing. I went back to try to see what The Last of Us 2 looked like, and I was like, man, this game was so gorgeous when it released, and it still is. But now I'm looking at it and I'm like,
You're like, where's that patch? Where's that patch?
What are we doing here, guys? Get something going. So it's. I'm at that point now where if I don't even know if I'm going to be able to play a game.
You're spoiled, man.
Oh yeah, I took literally turning on Valhalla on performance mode to make me go, oh. We were swindled with that One X and PS4 Pro.
Is it because Valhalla is one of your favorite games of the year, right?
No, it's not even top 10.
Oh man, Andy, you playing anything you want to shout out on currently?
Yeah, I'm doing a bit of a bad job of playing too many games at once at the moment in a way, but one game definitely would like to shout out is Unto the End, which I know Lord Sovereign is going to have something to say.
I forgot about that. Yeah. I'll mention that one.
I was going to mention that when you were talking about Joe's game, Song of Iron, because it kind of similar aesthetic.
Definitely. Actually, when I first when I first saw them both, or saw one and then saw the other one, I thought, it does have a similarity. But believe me though, if you play Unto the End, it's get ready for a quite punishing experience.
It's
in
hard.
A good way.
It is hard.
It is fantastic though. You just got to sort of think, like I say, know what you're going into kind of thing. You can't go in hack and slashing. It's just not that kind of game. It's very deliberate combat. It's you feel the weight of the combat. You've got to time it. You've got to sort of block, and then you've got to block high and then attack low. For example, you've got to so either block or high, low, and then you've got you've got duck and stuff like that. There's all different kind of things you can do, but I just feel like it's done so well. Actually, there's been a few mixed reviews on Steam, which is a shame to see. I don't know whether it's people are finding it a bit too hard or something. There's a few people who have said that, but it's quite tough. But it's made to feel like you're actually this father who is going on a real journey through this desolate land, and it's a harrowing experience. It's made to feel like that, so you're actually feeling like it as you play, but you are enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. But I just feel like it's really well. There's a part in the game where you're inside the caves underground, and you can see the light shining through to the outside, and it's like the wind's blowing, like whistling, and you can see like sort of like dust flying through the, and it just that moment was literally epicness. I honestly I just was like, this is absolutely phenomenal. You really feel like you're going from a dark place, because it's very dark inside the caves, and you have like your stick with your
torch.
Thank you very much, that's the word.
Your stick with fire.
Stick with fire. We need a name for that. My lord. My brain doesn't work too well a lot of the time. But yeah, no, when you go from that inside the caves, they I think they make it intentionally dark. You can only see around you, and then when you go to the outside part, it just feels like you're actually going from real darkness to real bright light area, which is, I just feel like the atmosphere of the game is so well done. The combat is incredibly well done, but it is tough. But yeah, stick with it, guys. Like, learn the combat. Don't go slashing in at them, wait for them to be off balance and then attack, all that kind of stuff. It's a phenomenal game. Definitely check it out. I'm also still playing Hades because I adore it. You cannot beat Hades. I swear it's one of the best games in years. It is definitely the best roguelite game, if you want to call it a roguelite game. Is probably more accurate, but it's definitely a best rogue game ever made, in my opinion. It is so well done. I absolutely loved the documentary made by NoClip. If any of you guys have ever watched NoClip documentaries on YouTube,
great documentaries.
It is so good. Seeing like Supergiant Games, how they work behind the scenes, how they got through the COVID shutdown, everything like that is fantastically done. That NoClip documentary. So look it up on Steam, Hades NoClip documentary, and I think you'll love it if you enjoy seeing behind the scenes stuff on, games development. It's such a good documentary, but the game is so phenomenal. If you haven't checked out Hades already, everything that everyone's saying about it is true. Get on it, guys. You're delaying an inevitable joy that you will have when you play it.
Awesome. Yeah, a couple of the guys at SG adore it. It was their game of the year, and I'm just waiting for it. I don't play my Switch a whole lot, and I'm just hoping it comes to either Xbox or PlayStation sometime soon. I could play it on PC, I just haven't, so I need to get to it though. I will get to it.
Good stuff, brother.
Shizno says in chat, I hope Ghost Runner gets popular too when they upgrade it. That's one that Mo, who was in here earlier in chat, he talks about Ghost Runner all the time. It's a really great game to play too. So keep an eye on that.
Yes, I played the demo of that. It's another punishing game, but again, it's sort of it's quite like almost like a puzzle game, isn't it? The way it's you die and you come back and you have to sort of like it's almost like I say it's part of the process is dying in that game.
Yeah, he said it tracks your deaths, and he said he beat it, but he said he 1400 or something deaths,
exactly,
like 1461 or something.
And that's nothing to feel ashamed of, because it's what happens in the game. You die, okay, I've got a different route, I've got to go dash on that part there, I've got, you know what I mean? It's just if anyone beats it without dying, then they are literally a robot. But yeah, I'm sure there's one or two people are.
So what you up to, man? Anything good you've been playing?
I mean, I'm back to work, so my gaming has been diminished considerably. But that's what the Switch is for. So, but yeah, I mean, before that, like I dip in and out of Valhalla. It's comfort food for me, so I can just dip in and out, do a couple of missions, and then put it down.
Yeah.
And on the PlayStation, I've gone back to try to finish Ghost of Tsushima.
I need to do that.
Yeah, and on the PlayStation, it runs beautifully at 60. It's a gorgeous game. The open world stuff is whatever. It's stuff that I've seen before, but I really want to get through that narrative. So I want to try to do that. But again, it'll be in bits and pieces. And on the Switch, I picked up Unto the End, and I know it's on Game Pass, and why would you do that? But hey, it's the only time I would have to really play it. So yeah, I'm loving that. That we had those. We had Stephen Danton on the show, and he talked about the process for that, and just any game that looks and plays that way and is made by one or two people, you just got to tip your hat to. But I love the fact that it is deliberate, that it isn't just this hack and slash 2D game, that you really do have to pay attention to your environment, and I love the tone of it. I love the tone and the environment and sort of the music. Everything about it is pretty awesome. And again, I just love seeing small games that are able to do those type of things. So I'm enjoying that, but it is kicking my ass.
Yeah, it's inevitable though. Don't feel bad. Everyone will die on that game again.
Yeah, exactly. And in Hades, I got to get my Hades runs in, as much as possible. Love that game. Absolutely adore that game. And then something I think I mentioned offline before we started. I picked up Grindstone on the Switch because I'm not an iPhone owner, so I wasn't around when it first came out for Apple Arcade. Probably was that beginning of 2019, maybe.
It's going back a bit.
Yeah, it's going back a bit. So I picked it up with Nintendo tax and all, so it was like $20 instead of the $5 you paid monthly for Apple Arcade. But it's a fantastic little game. Basically, you play this gem miner. And I love the art style. Like you look like this humongous, like Hulk Hogan, like looking the dude with his shirt off, and you have to go into these caves to mine these gems. But you have there are enemies there. They're trying to stop you from doing that. So the conceit of the game is basically finding a path around each cave to get to the gems, and you do that by sort of it's basically by color. So you whatever the different color enemies, and you follow a line killing the same color enemies until you get to a gem. You collect the gem, and the gem allows you to switch color, so that way you can sort of extend your combo, so to speak. And beyond that, like you're able to upgrade your gear, you're able to get like single use items and stuff that'll help you on specific runs. Very cool game. I've only played it for maybe 30 minutes. And I can see the addiction factor. I can see
the gameplay loops got you.
Yeah, the gameplay loops got me. So that's pretty much it. And I hope to be playing Hitman on the 20th with Dan, because man, so excited for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Rob, man, shout out to you guys catching us while barbecue and drink a beer. Sounds like good times to me, man. Thanks for swinging by. Appreciate it. The only game I was going to shout out is Yakuza, Like a Dragon. Now that I've put half of my life into Cyberpunk, I'm finally moving on to other games. Picked up Yakuza this week, the steel books behind me, of course. And I have never been into Yakuza. I couldn't get into it. I've tried a couple of them. I think Kiwami maybe and Zero. I don't remember which ones, but they never grabbed me. But Dan always recommends them, and a bunch of people talking about how good this game is. And so I'm really enjoying it. Been playing it all week. I don't know how much I have in right now, maybe 8-10 hours or so, but it's really fun. It's really well written. Good story so far. The characters are endearing, and just having a good time. It's a funny game. So if you're one of those people like me who always felt like you couldn't get into the Yakuza games previously, because I know there's quite a few people like that, give this one a shot. In my opinion, the turn-based combat changes it up a bit. It's more like an actual JRPG, but with the kind of Yakuza silliness and still story that I'm going through. So I've been having a real good time with it. That's pretty much all I've been playing outside of Cyberpunk. Still on the side.
How many hours in Cyberpunk now?
So Dan's at like 180. I'm at like 160.
Nice.
Dan played through fully 2 times. I've played through one very long playthrough on Xbox, and then I have about 15 hours or so on my PC playthrough. So,
wow.
A lot of
that's good.
Amazing game. Despite
you have to have a few hours in.
Far too much about.
You have to have a few hours in. I was going to say, if you've got the chair, the jumper, everything.
This is like 4% of the Cyberpunk stuff in my house right now.
Oh, really?
It's ridiculous.
Amazing.
It's ridiculous, honestly. But anyway. But definitely give Yakuza a shot. And sadly, it just doesn't seem like it is sold extremely well. So it's already, I got it, this version, because I'm a physical guy, but I got it with both Steelbooks Day 1 edition for $35. So nice. I mean, it's just, you can't beat it, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. It's been fantastic. Honestly, both of you guys have been just a joy to have on. Fantastic conversation, so much nostalgia and memories in the games we've talked about today. So I really appreciate it. Let's hear, where we can find you. Go ahead, shout out your channels on Twitter, YouTube, etc. So Indy, I'll start with you, man.
Oh man, it's been honestly such a pleasure. Thank you so much. Have so much respect for you, as I said at the top of the show. It's been so much fun, and apologies for my ramblings. Sometimes I can't get words out properly, but I hope we got it out in the end. Working on it. But no, thank you so much for having me, my friend. It's been such a pleasure. You're all awesome. All three of you guys are fantastic to hang with. I've loved hearing all your takes and everything. And thanks so much for the chat, for hanging with us. You can indeed find me on my YouTube channel, which is YouTube.com/The Indie Gamer, all one word. And also you can find me on Twitter, which is indie_gamer_01. On the YouTube channel and in Twitter and everywhere, I do focus on all indie game content, which is probably goes without saying, but I do love my indie stuff, and spreading the word for indie games and sharing that positivity with everyone is what I'm all about. So if you do like your indie games or want to find out about some more that are coming out and stuff like that, feel free to drop by and subscribe on the channel. It would mean the world. We did do the Indie Games Awards at the end of last year, which is still available for you to check out. We did 16 awards of all of the indie variety, and there are timestamps in that video in case you were concerned about the length of that stream. But yeah, feel free if you want to check those out. But yeah, there will be much more content coming soon, including my best upcoming indie games of 2021, etc. But honestly though, this has been so much fun. It really has, and an honor, and sort of like a bucket list kind of in a way as well.
No, come on now.
No, I'm genuine. No. I'm genuine. I've been in the community for quite a while, so been watching your content a lot, and the way you do things is very, honest and down to earth, and also a lot of passion there. And to be able to be a part of your show has been so much fun and a complete honor. Thank you again, Ains, and thanks everyone else as well. It's been a blast hanging with you.
Humbled, man. Thanks so much for the comments. Sav, I know our audience knows where they can find you, just like Indy, but shout it out anyway, man.
Yeah, man. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I love and respect what you guys do so much, because I love the written word. I love the written word, and you guys.
Thank you. Somebody.
Nice. Good point. Yeah.
And I love the passion and the effort you guys put behind that, because it's not easy. Everybody, nowadays, the same with us and lordsofgaming.net. Nowadays, everybody just watches a video for everything, and yeah, you do have to sort of accompany words with videos all the time, because that's just how it works. But I love nothing better to sit down and to read an in-depth review, and you guys do a fantastic job at that. So thank you so much for what you do. Respect what you guys do, and thanks for having me, because I know I'm never around. So
the elusive, but we caught him.
The elusive man. Yeah, absolutely a pleasure to be here. You guys can find me on the Iron Lords podcast every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, right here on YouTube. And on Twitter, you can find me at LordSavILP. I don't tweet that much. I'm the master of the retweet. You put some stuff up on and I'll retweet the hell out of it. But
this is the power I want. Like I would, like if it weren't for just the information on Twitter, like just the source of info, I would be gone from that place.
Yeah,
but,
man.
I respect your Twitter game so much,
dude. Like this is because Cog forced me. Like in the beginning, I was like, do I really need the Twitter? It's like, you got to be out there, man. Like people got to know about Saab. I'm like, nah, they really don't. Like, but and lastly, I love this show, and I love the way you guys approach the format of the show. Like I love our show. But our show, we focus a lot on news and stuff like that. And it's rare that we really have an extended period during the show where we talk about any one particular game, just gameplay wise, like what we love, don't love about it, gameplay mechanics. And this was all that. And if you can't tell, like, I love that stuff. Like, I just love, talking about the things that we love about specific games, breaking them down, stuff like that. So I love that this was all that. no news, all that.
That's awesome. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Well, then you'll have to be less elusive, and we'll have to do it more often.
Yeah, man. No promises, but I hope so. I hope so.
Oh man, no, fantastic show, guys. Thanks so much. you know where you can find Dan and I. And just a couple things real quick is we had our award show as well. So check out Indies. Check out ours. Ours was last week, and it was the first award show we've done for Season Gaming. So full categories, all the staff voted. You know, we did a full process for it. So that show's out there. You can find it on our channel. Reviews this week, we did reviews of Exit the Gungeon and Twin Mirror nice. by Ryan and Nate. So those are up. Check those out. I'm bringing back this week, actually, a series I started a year and a half ago called Industry Perspective, where I pick one topic and kind of focus in on it. I've talked about Game Pass. I've talked about PlayStation, Xbox, etc. at the moments in time. But I'm adding a new flavor to it where I'm going to sit down one-on-one with someone else, a content creator that I admire, and just have a chat, just an open beer conversation about gaming culture, history, you know, where we come from, those types of things. So my first guest, funny enough, is Lord Cognito, one of my favorites, you know, that we talk to all the time. And, you know, we've talked about it before. So I'm sitting down with him early next week. We're going to record that. It's not live, but it's just going to be, like I said, a one-on-one conversation about all things gaming and what we love about it. And that'll be published later or mid next week. So keep an eye for that. I would appreciate any love, feedback, and critical feedback as well. And then that's really about it, man. It's you know, it's been a little slow start to the new year with news, as you guys know, in terms of just the major stuff. But I feel like it's about to kick off, right? So the site, there hasn't been a ton of content on the site this week because it's a little slower, but it's obviously about to ramp up. So it's great to be back. Chat, you were awesome today. Thanks for everyone who stopped by. It's been a pleasure. And that was a Bitcast 136. And until then, we'll see you next Saturday. Peace.